craft and all that sort of stuff. But she's coming on leaps and bounds. She's had a pretty solid run in the practice matches. She had Lauren Spark in 2 practice matches as an opponent. That's a pretty tall order as a young developing heading forward. But I think we got to see last week the level of work rate she's got. She just keeps fronting up to contests. And she'll start plunking some of those very contested marks that we're seeing her get to. But yeah, she was able to hit the scoreboard last week with some opportunities up forward. And like Ali, she's got a really bright future in the game. She's got so much upside and scope for development.
And Luke, one last question before we let you go. As we know, because the season's now aligned with AFLW, VFLW, it gives the options for AFLW coaches to drop players back to find a bit of form, play a different position, etc. Jess Edwards is one of those players dropping back, obviously in consultation with Daniel Harford. What are you hoping to get out of her game today?
Yeah, so Jess will play initially through the back line. I think from my point of view, we're really looking forward to her experience down there to, I guess, pair up, partner up with Jen Liu. I guess, as I said before about the Asian demographic of our whole team, but certainly our backline, debutante this week, and we've got a lot of girls around in their first or second game with the club. So we're really looking for her to, I guess, guide those young players and sort of, I guess, manage the tempo of the game and things that come with years of football experience that young developing players probably don't have straight off the bat. So, making sure that if we need to slow things down, she'll do that, or speed it up if that's the case, or whatever the case may be. So, looking for her leadership and certainly being part of that rebound chain out of her back half. You know, it's an area we really struggled in round 1. We sort of got stuck between the arcs, and I think having Jess, her experience and skills to be able to utilise our wings or even get the ball between the arcs and try and lift our number of inside 50s, I think that's going to be a real key. So we'll be looking for Jess to be a really good lockdown defender and then provide a great deal of run out of the back line.
Well, Luke, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon on the pre-game show here on WARFradio.com. And all the very best in half an hour's time with a bounce down as you take on Port Melbourne here at Trobe Uni.
Fantastic, Peter, and everyone. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much to Luke O'Shannessy, the coach there of Carlton in the VFLW, joining us here on WARFradio.com. Very confident with his side, and it's just one of those things where, okay, we look at the scoreboard, and you see a few passes of play from the video stream last week that Casey got away in the end from Carlton, but it almost seems like he feels, okay, the structures were there, maybe some execution didn't quite work, and if we get a few things and we tweak a few things, we're in this game with Port Melbourne today.
Yeah, and he mentioned off the top, and he mentioned during our call as well that Brenna Tarrant almost defeated them on their own. 5 goals from one player is a pretty good effort, to say the least. And I guess without her effort, they were right in the contest. So I saw really good signs from the Blues last week. It's just a matter of getting the scores on the board. So yeah, there's good sides in them, and hopefully they can make a good fight of it today.
Yeah, it's often those individual performances that can actually shape the result of a game. So with Wilson kicking 1 goal 4 last week on her debut, if that was the other way, 4 goal 1, the result was different as well. And we would have had 2 keys kicking bags at each end of the ground. So if that gets turned around today and Wilson actually starts to get on top and tears the game apart, Carlton are going to be a real chance to put on a big score today.
Carlton supporters that are listening to our call while watching Channel 7 at the same time for the AFLW will know the score. For those who haven't been following it, in the third quarter, Carlton lead by 23 points, 8-3-51 to Geelong, 4-4-28. Carlton will be naturally happy that they're looking at possibly getting another win if they keep going. Dare I say maybe a little bit of happiness out of Geelong, even with the loss the previous week to Richmond, that okay, their scoring is up compared to their very sluggish starts of the season?
Yeah, I mean, Geelong's scoring's been really disappointing for them. So to get a good score and to do it on Icon Park as well, which is not an easy surface to score on, is a good effort for them. But yeah, the Blues, obviously, when you have a player like Madison Pressparker's coming in, we'll need an update on how many touches she has for sure. But yeah, when you get a player of her calibre coming in, it's very hard to get on top of the Blues.
Pressparker's 25 touches, 1 goal.
That makes sense.
There's 2 multiple goal kickers for the Blues so far, 2 to Vescio and 2 to Serena Gibbs.
Oh, we love that. I'm a big fan of Gibbsy. I obviously worked at the Blues, and she was just one of those players that I think her on-field work was amazing, but off-field as well. She always went back to her old club during the week and helped out with trainings. She did that off her own time, and she was really, she really wanted to develop the youth and make sure that they got to a level of where she got as well. She showed really good size of the practice match earlier, so great to see her get a chance.
It's been really exciting watching Darcy Vescio put in the kind of season that she put in the first year of AFLW too. It seems like the last few years she's kind of moved more into a role player than that standout star in the forward line at Carlton, but 2 more goals today. She's getting handfuls of goals every single week now. It's just an icon of the game. To see her starting to play at her best has been really, really exciting.
The ironic thing is, it's almost like Back to the Future. It's like they're finally playing Darcy how she used to be played at Darebin. She was the role player. When she came across as a marquee and signed as a marquee for Carlton, they put her name on the board as key position forward, and you looked at it and you go, well, no, because when she was at Darebin, you had coming out of centre half forward Katie Brennan. You had, I think, Georgia Hammond by that stage was... Actually, no, originally Rebecca Privatelli was out of the goal square, then replaced later on by Georgia Hammond out of the goal square. You also had in another forward pocket Lauren Arnell. And the thing was, Darcy was, no disrespect to her, but she was seen in that kind of setup as possibly the 3rd or 4th best forward, so would get the 3rd or 4th best defender, and that allowed her to weave her magic. So if you went long to Privatelli or to Brennan and it didn't stick, at the feet was Vescio, here's a snap, here's a goal, everybody party. And it's like, finally they're figuring it out at Carlton, saying, that's what we need. We don't need to worry about hitting her on the lead. We just need to be finding someone else, and Darcy will find the ball when it hits the ground.
Yeah, that's right. And that Darebin team at that time was just a phenomenal football team. If that Darebin team from 2017 was existing today as an AFLW team, you'd probably put them in the second top 2 or 3 teams, even at that level. So
everyone is still filthy of how they managed to get Noffy into their side. I mean, Marinoff, they're going, you're kidding.
It was something special to watch, and it's amazing to see the growth of AFLW, but have Darebin still at the VFLW level, even without all those players and all that talent they lost, has just been really something special for the game, that they've still got that connection with history. But yeah, a lot of those Darebin players, when you play as such a core group for 7 or 8 years and with all those flags and then farmed off to all these different AFLW clubs, some of them find their roles and others haven't, but I think 4 or 5 years removed now, we're starting to find everyone really comfortable in their positions at the AFL teams.
I'll just quickly bring up another Carlton player since we're talking about the Blues. Of course, Carlton and Port Melbourne today in the VFLW, kicking off at 2:30. Carlton currently playing Geelong in the AFLW. Carlton leading by 23 points. Grace Egan, 20 touches at the moment, chugging along nicely for the Blues. I keep bringing it up every time. How the hell did Richmond let Grace Egan go from their grasp? How the hell did that happen?
Yeah, it's mind-boggling. I mean, I haven't got the answer. I don't think many people do. I don't even think Richmond have the answer. I think, probably back then they would have been looking. I think what happened actually was that I think she didn't get picked for like those Vic country squads later in her under 18 years, and that kind of got her off the radar of clubs like that. But because she was so close to Richmond, that's why it's kind of baffling, because Richmond had a close eye on her, and she obviously played in their VFLW team as well.
And rated highly in their club best and fairest. And I think it was Wayne Siegman who I think got her across to Carlton when he was, for a short time, their list manager. I think he was kind of like saying, we couldn't believe how we stole her from under Richmond's nose, because I think it was a case of, because she was a VFLW senior player and how the expansion rules worked, they had to make a bid for her and what draft position they would take her, and Richmond didn't match the bid, and they went, all right, we'll take her, thank you very much.
When you consider the fact that Grace Egan is possibly one of the most important players on the Carlton list, and I still feel like she goes under the radar from the public perception of how good she is.
And she's a redhead, which is like, that's even more amazing going. They stick out on the field.
Yeah, especially when they're flashing through the midfield at a million miles an hour. You can't help but notice them. She's still so young. She's the future of that Carlton club, and I'd imagine Richmond would be pretty happy to have her in their midfield right now. Carlton's gain is Richmond's loss, and it's definitely going to help Carlton in that drive to make that final 6 in the last 3 weeks in the AFL competition.
Absolutely, and when we come back from the break, we'll focus on Richmond a bit, since we don't want to really dig into Richmond, because we've got Richmond supporters listening and they want to hear how their players are going today for Port Melbourne. They've got McClellan, Harley, Sansonetti and Luca Leohoski-Hay in the side. We'll talk about them very shortly. In fact, we'll take this quick break, and when we return on the other side of the break, the countdown continues to the 2:30pm bounce, Carlton versus Port Melbourne on WARFradio.com, and at 2:30 it will also be live on the VFLW live stream on YouTube.
A tough time doesn't excuse abusive behaviour at home. Even in crisis, there's no place for domestic or family violence. If you, your family or community is affected, help is available online and by phone 24/7. For free, confidential advice, support and counselling for everyone, contact 1-800-RESPECT. There's no place for domestic or family violence. Help is here. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Australia is working hard to ensure we all have access to safe, effective and free COVID-19 vaccines, which will give us the protection to go about our everyday lives. The COVID-19 vaccines are being assessed carefully by independent clinical experts to ensure all potential vaccines meet Australia's high safety and quality standards. After vaccines are approved, they'll be rolled out, going to those most in need of protection first. To keep up to date, visit health.gov.au. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
There's jumpers, hoodies and tees for you at leaguetees.com.au.
LeagueTees.com.au is your place for retro footy gear with designs created by local artists that you won't find anywhere else. Plus, their unique range of women's footy tees help raise funds for Indigenous literacy programs. Get online and start shopping today.
LeagueTees.com.au.
If you've had something stolen,
or if you've had property damaged, you need the police, not the sirens. If you've lost something or found something valuable,
or if you want to register a party or let us know you're going away on holiday, you need the police, not the sirens.
When you need the police, but not the sirens, you can now report these incidents online at police.vic.gov.au or call 131 444.
Authorised by the Victorian Government, Melbourne.
Hey, Gary, what time you call this? Yeah, the traffic was really bad. Oh, there's Steve-o. G'day, Steve. Morning. How's your weekend? Same old, same old. What'd you get up to? Not much. Are you okay, mate?
Looking out for one another is something we all need to do. So if a mate's struggling, ask, are you okay? Listen, encourage action, and check in again soon. Those 4 steps could change their life. Find out more at ruok.org.au.
Draft Central is entering a new era, covering all the state leagues from the VFLW, Sample W, Waffle W and Quaffle W, as well as their primary focus, the NAB League Girls. Draft Central has you covered when it comes to all you need to know about the future stars of the AFL Women's. Draft Central, brought to you by Rookie Me, is now on YouTube, so be sure to subscribe at Draft Central, as well as on our Facebook, Twitter and Instagram pages at Draft Central Oz.
Did you know you have superpowers? This March, World's Greatest Shave is back. Will you be a superhero and step up to shave the world from blood cancer? Every day, another 41 Australians are diagnosed with blood cancer. These families need your help. Lose your locks or colour your hair to raise funds for urgently needed support and to accelerate blood cancer research. Your superhero moment awaits. Sign up now at worldsgreatestshave.com or call 1-800-500-088 to find out more.
It's Anna Mears winning gold.
Hey, I'm Anna Mears. Winning gold at the Olympics was an incredible feeling. And having my biggest rival, who I'd just beaten, right up next to me and lift my hand in victory, topped off an amazing moment. We'd had our fair share of clashes over the years, but in the end, we both respected each other, and that's what really counts in sport. Be gracious in victory and in defeat. To keep your sport inclusive, safe and fair, go to playbytherules.net.au.
Could you recognise if one of your friends or family was having a stroke? Think fast.
F. Face.
Check their face. Has their mouth drooped?
A. Arms.
Can they lift both arms?
S. Speech.
Is their speech slurred or confused?
T. Time.
Don't wait. Call 000 now. Think fast. Act fast.
A message from the National Stroke Foundation.
We are the Australian Literacy and Numeracy Foundation, striving to empower our most marginalised communities through literacy and education. Literacy is having a voice. Literacy is opportunity. Literacy is dreaming big. Literacy is freedom. Today, you can help end inequality and give every child access to our life-changing and proven literacy programs. Your support is vital. Donate now at alnf.org.
No business wants to throw money away. But did you know sending resources to landfill can be more expensive than recycling them? Planet Ark's free business recycling service can kickstart your workplace recycling journey, help you find the right recycling solutions and give you a competitive edge. Join the 1 million Australians using business recycling to keep valuable resources in circulation. Visit businessrecycling.com.au. It's just good business.
warfradio.com. That's warfradio.com. Or if you're at the ground, you can listen to us on 89.1 FM. This is the VFL Women's Match of the Day. 2:30pm bounce down. Carlton and Port Melbourne. You have got Peter Holden, Julia Montesano and Emily Fox with you for the call in what was being told it was going to be 28 degrees today. Doesn't feel like it. Feels like a comfortable 22. I could be sipping a cocktail somewhere.
You could be, but I think it's great conditions for footy. I mean, there's a slight wind, but it's a cool wind, so it's good for us in commentary box that we're not sweating up here too much. But yeah, I think it's good conditions for footy and not quite as hot, so it might be a good game today. May
I say, a very spacious commentary box as exhibited by Beck Goddard after the full-time siren of the Hawthorn-Darabin game, who just went by, Jamax, as she went by. That will be on social media during the week. Don't worry about that. Earlier today, for those that did join us, it was a win to Hawthorn over the Darebin Falcons. A comfortable win there. In fact, Darebin Falcons led at quarter time in that game before the Hawks were able to run away with it. We'll bring you up that score in just a moment's time. And the earlier game between North Melbourne and the Western Bulldogs, the final score there, Hawthorn 7-7-49, defeating Darebin 3-8-26. The final score from the North Melbourne Western Bulldogs game, North Melbourne 5-7-37, defeating the Western Bulldogs 2-4-16. We do not have goal kickers or best from that game yet. They didn't enter it into the system. Modern technology, don't you love it at Arden Street? But still, a shock for the competition coming out of that, Em and Julia. We saw the Bulldogs, I wouldn't say take apart Hawthorn last week, but had control of the second half. We saw North Melbourne collapse again in the second half for the second week in a row in round one, and when they got smashed by Collingwood in the practice game. And then all of a sudden, tables get turned.
Real surprise for me, because I thought this Bulldogs team, after last week's performance, was definitely going to keep rolling with that. And one of the strongest parts of the Bulldogs team is their young AFLW-listed players who aren't getting a run at the highest level at the moment. So Nell Morris-Dalton and Izzy Grant in particular have been playing really, really good football. But potentially today, with that North Melbourne result, it might just show the vagaries of youth and the inconsistencies that sometimes they can bring to football. So North Melbourne definitely needed the bounce back, and the Bulldogs will probably need to see whether they can rectify the result from this game next week.
It was interesting, and I mentioned it on air last week as well, and to get both of your thoughts, what Gravesy mentioned about the Gold Coast Suns, and you could say it a lot about some of the VFLW teams, because we had a huge list turnover right throughout the competition. They're saying, yes, the younger kids that are coming through the NAB League system, that are coming up to VFLW, yes, they've got great skill, they're fit, they're athletes, but a lot of them have played in very successful sides, club football, then rep football, and they're not used to games going quickly against them, and saying that those VFLW sides do need those handful of experienced players. Sure, they might not be fast, they not be even slick as the youngsters, but just those cool, experienced heads who know how to calm things down when, okay, the game's turning against us, let's just pump the brakes a bit and we're going to chip our way back into this.
And we're talking about the versatility that players need to show when you get up to the highest level. And for a lot of the young draftees who come up, they're the absolute stars for their NAB Cup teams or even their local clubs, where they tend to run on the ball, they'll get 30 touches, they get to control the game. But once you step up to the highest level, that is when you need to start showing that you can play multiple positions on the ground. So if you're getting drafted into Carlton, for example, you're not going to immediately replace Matty Prasparkas in that midfield. So you might have to spend a year or two on halfback learning the game. And that's where the challenges are when the game starts to go against you. It's hard to focus on your learning a new part of your game, also trying to adhere to the structures and the game plans that the coaches are trying to get you with as a whole. So that's where you can get that inconsistency with youth. But as the competition grows stronger, I know when I was having to do my testing in order to be allowed to play in the VFLW, I actually snuck down to the combine this year, and the girls coming through, they're getting taller and faster and fitter. Like, I was one of the shortest people in that room on that day, and it was just kind of scary to look at how good the talent is coming through. But they obviously have to keep developing and building this versatility that is required at the highest level.
The versatility, of course, Richmond will be looking for some of those youngsters pushing for spots as we see a fair number of players in and out. I remember Kek Makua Chot got dropped and then came back again and performed. Christina Banani, we saw, got dropped and then kicked 3 goals last week, then came back up to participate again in Richmond's side against North Melbourne. Today, we see Laura McClelland, Emily Harley, Sarah Sansonetti and Luca Lukoski-Hay all try and get their opportunity to star out here and try to say, I can fill a spot in your side.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they go because, there's a lot of AFLW experience that'll be looking to vie for a spot. I mean, you could argue all 4 players' cases that they could make their way to the AFLW squad. So I think Sarah Sansonetti, for me, is probably one that could push up into defence. I think Richmond could definitely use her back there. I think in terms of key forwards, I think Katie Brennan and Sabrina Frederick and also Courtney Wakefield as well, I think they're finding their rhythm as the season goes on. So for me, Laura McClellan might not be as vital, and that's what we just touched on, playing a different position. Could Laura McClellan push up to a midfield or maybe a key back or something like that to try and get back into the AFLW side? So it's a good test and a good mix of players that they're going to experiment with here in the side today.
And with 3 rounds left in the AFLW and Richmond no longer a chance to make a charge for finals, this is an opportunity for list management now. These games are to see who is going to earn their spot on the list next year, who is going to have to make way for that next round of draftees that are going to come in. So the AFLW listed players today, Sansonetti and McClellan in particular, this is their opportunity to show that, yes, they belong at an AFLW level. They really need to stand out today because potentially they are going to be trying to fight for their spot to be part of the 2022 Richmond team.
And we should all point out that the rules are going to change, obviously, when it comes to dates for the cutting of lists and for players to be able to change sides and when the draft is going to happen. Of course, we know the grand final will be sometime around early to mid-April. Around that time, or a week or so after, lists are going to be cut, so getting back to almost in the traditional May window. That's going to even allow the opportunity with the VFLW for some players to even swap sides mid-season, which will be interesting to see as we go along as they look for their second chance. And the reason why they will be keen to swap sides and perform well in the VFLW is that the draft is moved. It will now be in July.
Well, it shows how important the VFLW season moving into alignment with the AFLW season is this year. So those players have done their full pre-season and can transition into 7 or 8 weeks of VFLW football if they need to prove that they are going to earn a spot on a different list if they're not going to be retained at their AFLW teams. And it's actually a real opportunity for the standalone teams in the VFLW this year to add some extra high-level talent from their list. So Darebin and Williamstown in particular. So if there are players who get listed at AFLW and just want to go to a team where there's a more opportunity to stand out, that might be an advantageous opportunity for those standalone teams that aren't affiliated with the AFLW clubs at the moment.
And you've got to consider as well that they'll be feeling pressure, some of the players in the sides from the NAB League girls, because the NAB League National Carnival is being moved around the school holidays around April. And that means from approximately early to mid-May, you're going to have a bunch of NAB League girls pushing for spots inside. So even if you're an AFLW listed player on a VFLW side, there's actually no guarantee that you will get a run around in the VFLW. Particularly, for example, a club like Port Melbourne, who are proudly, like to run their own shop. They obviously work in consultation with Richmond, but if you get given a handful of gun under 18s and someone's on AFLW list and they're not performing and they're thinking, well, you're probably going to get cut anyway if you're not performing, I might as well flick you now and bring up the NAB League girls come May.
Yeah, I guess it's a perk, I suppose, for the competition being moved in alignment, with the AFLW season to get a really good look at these players. Obviously, with no footy being playing in 2020, it was very hard to draft and see, which players could come up. And this is a whole different opportunity. You're almost seeing, too much of them because you could see them at NAB League, you could see them in the VFLW, you could see them at testing days. There's so many opportunities to pick those good players. So I think it's good in that way for those AFLW-aligned VFLW teams. But I was talking about this last week about how, for those standalone teams, this might be a bit different for them. I guess the standalone teams would have benefited with the season being away from the AFLW. So the teams like Hawthorn and Darebin and Williamstown, they've got no AFLW players to rely on. So for them, it's not a big advantage for them to move it in alignment with the season. So it's a couple of good dynamics, and it's good to see the season play out in this kind of timeline.
As Mel Dutchy-Kynes leads the Port Melbourne Borough out onto the ground. We always say the Port Melbourne supporters travel well. The crowd probably not as big as the Carlton, Darebin Hawthorn game before us, which had maybe about 600. It's probably dropped a little bit. I'd probably say around the 250 to 300 mark. Still a good crowd for VFLW. We'll be awaiting very shortly for Carlton to come back onto the team. Pardon me, onto the turf. Tripping over my tongue there. But apologies for those that don't know. I actually worked the overnight shift this morning at work and then came to the ground here to produce and call a double header. We might take this opportunity actually to take a very quick break. When we return on the other side of the break, as Jen Liu leads the Blues now out onto the field, we will have the bounce down and our predictions of who will win between Carlton and Port Melbourne.
Australia is working hard to ensure we all have access to safe, effective and free COVID-19 vaccines, which will give us the protection to go about our everyday lives. The COVID-19 vaccines are being assessed carefully by independent clinical experts to ensure all potential vaccines meet Australia's high safety and quality standards. After vaccines are approved, they'll be rolled out, going to those most in need of protection first. To keep up to date, visit health.gov.au. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Elder abuse can take many forms. Financial abuse is the most common.
He said, Mum, I'll get the money for you. I gave him my card. He's my son.
And then I got a call from the bank manager.
I never expected this from my daughter.
If I don't change my will, I can't see the grandkids again.
For free confidential support, call 1-800-ELDER-HELP. That's 1-800-353-374.
Hi, Kirk Pengilly from InXS here. And whether it's music, sweet things, puppies, movies, we all love our treats. But our eyes need treating too. 300,000 Australians, including me, are affected by glaucoma. It can cause blindness. So treat yourself by treating your eyes to a simple test. Book your test at treatyoureyes.org.au today.
Hey guys, I'm Jess. And I'm Lisa from the Veronicas for RAD. Recording artists, actors and athletes against drink driving. What does it mean to be a designated driver? It means you're the friend who's agreed not to drink, not the person who's had the least to drink. It's cool to do and it shows you care about your friends. If you screw up just once, then your life changes forever. Face it, their lives are in your hands. So why don't you and your friends take it in turns to be the designated driver when you go out? You'll make the road safer for all of us.
A tough time doesn't excuse abusive behaviour at home. Even in crisis, there's no place for domestic or family violence. If you, your family or community is affected, help is available online and by phone 24/7. For free, confidential advice, support and counselling for everyone, contact 1-800-RESPECT. There's no place for domestic or family violence. Help is here. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Draft Central is entering a new era, covering all the state leagues from the VFLW, SANFL-W, WAFL-W and QAFL-W, as well as their primary focus, the NAB League Girls. Draft Central has you covered when it comes to all you need to know about the future stars of the AFL Women's. Draft Central, brought to you by Rookie Me, is now on YouTube, so be sure to subscribe at Draft Central, as well as on our Facebook, Twitter and Instagram pages at Draft Central Oz.
How often should you wash your hands?
Maybe around 9 times a day. 4?
Like 20?
Maybe twice a day.
Whenever they feel dirty. When should you wash your hands?
After you touch some raw meat. And before starting to eat. At the beginning. I wash my hands before preparing food.
How would you rate your knowledge of food safety?
Probably like an 8 out of 10. 6 or 7.
7.5? Learn more at foodsafety.asn.au/food safety training. Food safety, it's in your hands.
The Smith family have been helping disadvantaged Australian children for decades. Today we focus on helping children break the cycle of disadvantage by supporting them to get the most out of their education. But right now, 1 in 6 Australian children are living in poverty and don't have what they need for school. These kids need a hand up, not a handout. You can help them get the school essentials they need to fit in and the extra learning support to keep up. Please sponsor an Australian child today. Search the Smith family.
It's women's Aussie rules. They're doing what they love. They're fast, they're tough. Don't mess with them because they can get rough. Are you ready for the challenge? Are you ready for the match? It's the call of the game. It's the VFL Women's Match of the Day.
on WARFradio.com. That's WARFradio.com. At the ground, if you bring your FM radio, you can listen to us near the grandstand on 89.1 FM. Or you might be watching on YouTube. Just search VFLW on YouTube or go youtube.com/AFL Victoria. And online, you're able to watch the Port Melbourne and Carlton clash here at La Trobe University. Peter Holden, Julia Montesano and Emily Fox with you in commentary. And just before we get underway, I do have a final score from the AFLW. Carlton, 10-4-64, defeated Geelong 4-7-31. The Blue Baggers, 33-point winners over the Cats down at the Cattery.
Yeah, good win for the Blues. They definitely needed to, I suppose, just needed to get their season back on track. You know, I think everyone tipped them as premiership favourites. So now they find themselves struggling to make finals. So a big win for them, and they can hope that they can continue that form into the rest of the season.
Let's get some tips. Let's begin with Emily Fox. Who wins today and by how much?
I'm comfortable Port Melbourne will get over Carlton today, but it should be pretty tight. I couldn't imagine it'll be more than a goal.
Julia Montesano.
I'm going to say Port Melbourne as well. I was really impressed by them last week. I'm going to say 15 points for me today.
I am going with Port Melbourne by 17 points. So it's 3 points off last week. And they got the Bulldogs Hawthorn one right on the hammer. As the umpire throws the ball aloft, we are underway in this round 2 clash. Winning the contest there is Georgia Borg for the Blues. Trying to follow up her own kick over. Running the football was Ali McDonald there for Port Melbourne. Bramage is going to do a little bit of the shepherding work. Coming in from behind is Honeybun to try and lay a tackle. Ball at the moment at the halfback for Port Melbourne. Kais went down and immediately put her hands to her face. I don't know if she copped a poke in the eye or not. Going through there is Zampaglione for the Blues from forward 50. Pumps it in towards the hot spot. 35 metres out from goal. Burrow going to clear it though, and they work it towards the outer side. Bridie Kennedy chasing after the football. Jen Liu came out to meet it, put a big boot on the right and went long towards the forward pocket. Not much there to go from, but trying to chase it down from behind is Paige Truncheon, but the Borough somehow managed to wiggle their way out of defence.
So it's in the hands of Hannah McLaren now. The umpire's blown the whistle and picked out a free kick. It's going to go the way of the Blues. So an early set shot on goal. It looks like for Paige Truncheon, who got 2 goals last week against Casey, and we'll look for her first of the day. She's about 25 metres out in a slight angle.
Didn't see what the exact signal there was from the umpire, but I think it might have been for running too far because she went one way then back the other way, Hannah McLaren.
Yeah, it certainly looked like it. So Paige Truncheon now running in for her first of the day, and Carlton's first doesn't quite make the distance, and it's marked on the line there by Port Melbourne. So another chance to run out of defence here.
And they'll switch it from the back pocket, going towards the scoreboard side of the ground. Thanks for doing the commentators no favours. Chasing afterwards there is Peterson for the Blues. She's immediately ripped off the football. Zampaglione tried to get in there. She got pushed off the ball. Trying to get in there is McLaren again for the Borough, and the umpire will call for a ball up. Let's get some early impressions from our match analyst, Emily Fox.
Yeah, it looks like both teams are really trying to set up tight at the stoppages and playing a bit of surge footy. We're not seeing many handballs or running out the back at the moment. Both teams just seem to focus on winning that ball first and then just getting it out of that space.
Tanner with the ruckwork ball brought immediately to ground. Courtney Bramage jumped on the football and will call for a ball up right on the paint, 50 metres out from the Blues goal.
And Georgia Borg in the ruck for the Blues, the in for today for Carlton, and she'll tap it towards the forward 50. Players can't quite run onto it. It's a bit of a scrap in the middle there, and it looks like the ball will be balled up once again. So a tight contest to start this game, and it's locked in the Blues forward 50 as we speak. So the umpire will get ready to recommence action again. Once again, Borg in the ruck. She taps it towards the direction of goal. Port Melbourne will look to advance it out, but can't quite do it. Zampaglioni's there. You can't miss her. She's advancing towards the footy. Taps it forward. Ingram's there for the Blues to try and chase onto it. Picks it up cleanly, but is immediately met by Port Melbourne players. She jumped on immediately, and the ball will get out back to her. She'll have another chance to go for it, but it looks like Port Melbourne will mop it out of defence. So McLaren, who's got the ball again, she's got the zinc on her face, looks like a bit of a cricketer today, gets a nice kick over to McDonald, and now Port have the chance to set up and switch towards their forward 50.
McDonald on the right boot coming broadcast side. It's a long kick. Backing back there is Hammond for the Blues. Dropped the football. Went back and got it again. Got caught from behind though. Got the hand pass away in the nick of time to Lou. Lou kicked it in towards the 50. 25 metres out from goal. Came off hands. Was trying to find Lawrence. Handballing it around there. Lisa Davey for the Borough. They managed to move it out. Running with the football now is Borg. That's Naily Borg there for the Borough. Long kick. Beautiful kick. Finding Bridie Kennedy. And Kennedy is away. She takes on Ellie Build. Goes for a little bit of of a run. Long kick towards the half-forward flank position. Too much juice on the kick. Jessie Coletti was out the back, had it, dropped it, went back, picked it up again, kicked it up the line, managing to find a mark. And I think that's the Carlton captain there in Ali Build. She has it far side the ground. No score either side.
So Bill will look to go inboard. The kick doesn't quite come off. It comes at the side of the boot and it will land straight back in the hands of the Borough through Courtney Bramage, who's playing against her old side today, along with Bridie Kennedy as well, who was an AFLW listed player for the Blues. So Bramage looks to go inside 50. There's not many options there, and it'll go straight down the throat of the vice-captain Jennifer Liu with the high socks up, but kind of a Matthew Cruiser lookalike with the number 8 as well. So she'll go inboard now. Doesn't quite find the intended target, so the Borough have a chance to mop up. They'll go forward again. We're just on centre wing. Now we're inside 50. There's a 2-on-1 in Carlton's favour. Lou's back there. She looks like she'll pick it up again. She has Hammonds for company. She gets it towards her. Hammonds now goes towards the wing. Bree Gers there for the Blues, but it looks like it might just get out of bounds and run past Trudgeon there. So still 0-0 to start off with, and we'll hear from our match analyst, M. Fox.
Yeah, Port Melbourne have been really trying to get that hands out the back and get that transition running out of the back line. But at the moment, their forwards just need to work a little bit harder. The ball seems to be going in over the back to Carlton far too easy once it's in Port's 50.
And the Borough managed to pump it inside 50. It's an awkward bouncing ball. Getting on the end of it is Sophie Locke. Empty goal square bouncing ball goes awkwardly to the right. Jen Liu is going to run onto it in the opposite back pocket. Liu now goes for a shortish kick up the line, trying to make sure it stays in and doesn't go out of bounds due to the lasso rule. Running on the football. Game enough to take a bounce is Peterson for the Blues. Kicks it in towards the middle of the ground. It let her down. Down. And Dyer takes the kick for the Borough. Goes with a short pass. Goes in 50 with an awkward-looking bounce. Bramage had to go pick it up. Went one way, then went the other. Bramage had to get the kick away with Zampaglione on her tail. Bounced fortuitously. Here's a chance, though, for the Borough with a shot on goal by Harley as a way to the right, out of bounds on the full. 5.5 minutes gone first term. No score either side. Here's your match analyst, Emily Fox.
There's an opportunity for Port Melbourne to lock it in. Carlton were really good early keeping it down in their forward line. But if Port Melbourne can set up here, there's an opportunity to get the first score on the board.
So Jessie Coletti will kick it out. She finds a teammate in the captain, Build. Build has got space to go for a run, goes wide, but Ellie McDonald's there all in her own. She has to bend over to pick it up. She does. Gets a handball away. Can't quite get it to the intended teammate. Carlton have got numbers in the back now, and they can clean it up once again through Build. Has another chance of getting it out, and it falls straight into the hands of Madison Wilson. So Wilson will look to go forward towards the wing. Tegan Brett's there. Is followed closely by Olivia Barden for Port. Brett goes to ground, so does Barden. Madison Wilson's there to pick up her own mess, but McLaren, who's had a few early touches for Port Melbourne so far, gets a quick handball off to McDonald. Misses Bramage. Can't quite get it out. McDonald goes back to fix up her own mess. Port will go forward once again. Hammonds is there for the Blues to hotly contest it. And so is Bridie Kennedy, who had a good run. But it's her opposite number, Kayla Peterson, that looks like she's going to advance forward. Just falls out of the hands of Jennifer Liu. Misses the intended target. Liu, tackled by 2. Peterson will have to pick up her own mess. She goes forward once again. But she can't quite find the target that she intended. So the Blues looking a bit sloppy early on, but can get it forward now through Klingbeil. Klingbeil passes the centre square now. We'll look to find a target in Zampaglione. Can't quite get to her. Kolevsky. Here we go. Now the Blues can get a run on. Just drop the intended target there. Wilson. Back to Kolevsky. Kicking a long ball inside 50. Trudgeon's there, but she's met closely by her opponent, so can't quite get the ball. Port now have the chance to wrap it up in just inside the centre square, and the umpire will wrap it up. Emily Fox, what do you got to say?
Both teams really keen to try to keep the ball moving today. We're not seeing much slow play or looking out for the options out wide. It seems to be eyes down, have a look, first option, and send it out. So, yeah, we've just got to make it a bit cleaner to make sure we're getting some marks.
And it's the Borough that will clear off centre half back. Awkward bouncing ball there for Jessie Coletti. Nearly went over her head. Went and got it back, and they got immediately wrapped up. Had to get rid of the pill. Jumping in there is Ali Bell to try and lay a tackle. We're between centre and centre half forward here for Port Melbourne. Going in there is Linson. Tries to get it out for the Blues, and the umpire says, I'll ask for the ball back. If you just joined us and missed our pre-game show, Winnie Lang not feeling well today. He's a late out, replaced by Marnie Jarvis for the Blues. Quick little hand pass out of the pack there. Pip Pesky goes long inside 50. Emily Harley trying to chase after the football. The Blues opponent gets shoved off the ball. Harley went to ground, tried to do the old scoop job. Now on the left boot, it's Sophie Locke, and she gets the first score of the day. Port Melbourne, 1 straight 6. Carlton yet to score. We have got 12 minutes remaining in this first term. Again, your match analyst is Williamstown footballer Emily Fox.
That was a goal that was just happened through persistence, really. Port Melbourne really just focused on keeping that ball surging and trying to run onto it, trying to catch Carlton napping a little bit, and they got rewarded there.
And it looked like Jess Edwards actually got pushed off the ball there by Carlton. So great body work there by Emily Harley. She's definitely making a mark today, deep in full forward, and good to see the Borough get on the board early.
Yeah, she's a solid build, Emily Harley. It's a player that you like in the forward line. You just want him to be a wrecking ball.
Absolutely, and wrecking ball she is. So we're back in the middle now. It's one goal straight to Port Melbourne. Carlton are yet to score. We're about 11 minutes into the first quarter, and the umpire will hold the ball aloft. It goes towards Port Melbourne's midfield, but they can't quite get their hands on it. Looks like it's going to be wrapped up immediately. They're going to try and advance inside 50, but it falls straight to the hands of Peterson for the Blues. He's had plenty of the ball today. Gets it off to Zampalioni, but she's immediately wrapped up in a great tackle there by Mel Kais, the captain, and she will get rewarded for it. So the Borough have a chance to get their second goal in a matter of minutes through Mel Kais. Kais goes wide, looks for Peschke, has got her. Peschke now is looking for an option. She decides to go straight down the line, finds one in McLaren with that zinc on the nose. McLaren, who has plenty of touches today, is just outside 50. So the Borough looking to slow it up now. So McLaren kicks it deep inside 50. There's a couple of players. A good contested mark there by Emily Harley. Hallelujah, Harley.
Past the collection plate.
Absolutely. That was a great mark by her. Obviously, we followed up that bodywork when Jess Edwards in the goal square. She's moved up the field and taken a fantastic contested mark. She's just probably about 30 metres out on a bit of a difficult angle, but you wouldn't put it past her considering the mark she took. So Emily Harley runs in for her first, and the Borough's second of the day. Looks nice off the boot, gets a lot of distance, but not quite the accuracy. The ball's still in play. Marnie Jarvis has left to mop it up. She goes for a bit of a run, just gets the kick away to Madison Wilson, and it's another solid mark from her. She's taken a good amount of marks today. So deep inside defensive 50 for the Blues. Will look to switch it. Doesn't see a play that she likes. So instead opts to go down the line. Sarah Ingram's there, just dropped the mark. Look to try and advance it forward now. She picks up her own mess. There's not much options there at the front for Carlton. There's a one-on-one there just outside the centre square. The players fall on top of the ball to see who can get it out. They can't quite do it. Kalevski's there for the Blues, tries to get it forward. Klingbeil rips up her immediately in a tackle, and it's going to be a ball up just outside centre half forward, Emily Fox.
A real opportunity for Carlton to transition forward there. They really looked like they just wanted to drive it down the ground. Their forwards are pushed up too far and really need to get back on that transition running to make options in the forward 50 again.
In the back, free kick on the way of Millie Klingbeil. She has the football 52 metres out from goal. Scoreboard side of the ground, which shows the Borough up by a goal with 9 minutes remaining in this first term. You're on WRFradio.com and the VFLW live stream on YouTube. And the Borough will mark in defence with a bit of an awkward kick across the, I wouldn't say the face of goals, but really across the centre half back line. Coming in to lay a brutal tackle there, Bridie Kennedy, and the umpire says that's illegal because Brianna Gurr did not have the football, and she'll get a resulting free kick, 52 metres out, 45-degree angle, broadcast side, in towards, look at the buildings, probably the city end of the ground. Elects to work wide to her right, then wants to try and bend it back around the pocket. Two Borough's players didn't talk as Trajan was coming through, went out the back, going for a snap on goal for the Bluebaggers is Madison Wilson, and she's all tied up here at Trobe Uni, Emily Fox.
It wasn't the prettiest move into the forward line there, but when you can get your small forwards front and centre in a crumb like that, put it on the left boot and snap it around the corner, you'll take it every time. It's beautiful football and beautiful textbook football by their small forwards.
I quite like the work of Madison Wilson. I've been calling her name a lot earlier, and so have you as well, Pete. And it was one Wilson last week for Port Melbourne that showed the way, and this week it's Carlton's Wilson that's looking to make a bit of an impression. So a good snap by her and a good work by Brie Gurr. I wasn't sure that the wide approach was right, but to her credit, she went along with it, and the players followed her lead and got the goal on the board. So a good contest to start.
It sucked the two Port Melbourne players in to commit to the football, not left Wilson all by herself.
Absolutely. So we're back in the middle now. Brie Gurr's gone back onto the wing. It's Georgia Borg in the ruck, the in for today. She'll have to get her own clearance. She does. There's not much options forward. Wilson's there again. She immediately tackles her opponent, and she's met by a lot of other players as well. So it looks like it's going to be balled up again inside the centre square, just outside centre half forward for Carlton, who are 6 apiece with Port Melbourne.
Here on WARFradio.com. And if you come to the ground and bring your FM transmitter radio, you can hear us on 89.1 FM delay free. Coming out of the pack there. Trajan, hurry kick inside 50. Was trying to weight it towards Lawrence, but just too much on it. And again, Port will come out of defence. going wide to try and find McDonald. McDonald takes the mark this time in front of Gurr. Just goes with a sluggish kick. Does it get the distance? Umpire says no, it didn't. It hit the deck according to the umpire. Bailey, the Port supporters are not happy, suggesting maybe you need to go to Specsavers.
Emily Fox, what do you got to say?
Port Melbourne now have had 3 intercept marks in their back line, all of them within that corridor, so Carlton might need to start looking to push it a bit wide to try to negate that tall Port Melbourne defence.
Very awkward throw up by the umpire. Nonetheless, play does go on. Going in to lay the tackle there is Ingram, who brought the player McClellan to ground, and the ball eventually goes over and out. It is not a lasso. We'll get a ball in again with Emily Fox.
It's interesting watching the midfield battle right now. No one is really getting on top of each other. However, both rucks are tall and athletic and aren't afraid to back up their own play. So there might be a bit more influence in the ruck contest than originally thought.
The rucks almost think it's a ball up until the umpire explains, no, it's a ball in, and the boundary umpire comes 10 metres in.
Yeah, I think they were a bit confused with the last boundary throw. They thought we might do a ball up instead to make it a bit easier. So Borg's back in the rucks. There, Paliotes with Ramage. None of them can get to the ball. It's wrapped up there by Holly Bailey for Port Melbourne. They're going to try and advance it forward. Bailey goes to pop up her own mess. Has to go back to go forward. Lazowski Hay. Now it's in the hands of the Blues again in their forward 50. Can they advance it? Bailey once again with about a third touch in 10 seconds. Tries to go forward. Edwards is there for the Blues inside the centre square. Gets immediately wrapped up. Build will try to go forward, but she's gang tackled by 2 Borough players, and the umpire will rightfully reward the tacklers. So the Borough now will look to advance it forward through Mel Kais, their absolute gun of a skipper, who was over 30 touches last week, so a nice solid outing for her. Goes down the line to a big contest there. Marnie Jarvis, the in for today, Winnie Lang, tries to get the ball, but the umpire picks out a free kick, and it's going to go the way of the Blues. And Marnie Jarvis, who I just spoke about, is the in for Winnie Lang today. Will take the free kick with the blue and pink boots today. Goes across to Bill, doesn't quite reach her. A chance for the Borough here to advance it forward, but Bill immediately wraps up her opponent. A good follow-up effort by her. Georgia Borg lays a tackle to make sure the ball goes nowhere near the forward 50 for the Borough, and she's rightly rewarded. So the umpire's been hot on those holding the ball tackles, and Ali Bild now will get a chance to switch it.
She does on the right, and she goes towards the outer side of the ground before Millie Shon can get there for the Borough. So it is Blues ball. And they're just doing wagons. I think it's Jess Edwards out there who now gets on the right boot, going in the Paige Trudgeon direction. One bounce before it got to her. Then she almost had the shorts pulled down and got dispossessed of the ball, but the umpire said it was fair play on. They get it towards the centre half forward position. I think Zambak Leone's trying to get in there. Hustling for the football. Got support from McCarliffe and get in there. Zambak Leone says, I can't do it myself. Kicks it long towards the hotspot. 30 metres out from goal. It came off hands. Opportunity opens here for Esther Honeybun. Can't bend it back. And will register as a minus score to the right-hand side. Carlton 117, Port Melbourne 1 straight 6. 3.5 minutes remaining in this first term. Here is your match analyst, Emily Fox.
Yeah, once again, really good crumbing work in the Carlton forward line. This time it was Honeybun. Finished that one off, and it really could have been a statement goal.
It looks like they could get another chance here again. And wayward kick out from Port Melbourne goes towards the boundary line. Lucky Madison Wilson was hot on the heels of Courtney Ramage. Will have a throw-in just outside the Blues forward 50 and possibly another chance for them to get another goal on the board.
Yeah, both teams are really looking to kind of surge forward straight out of the stoppages. Once it's out of there, they're going to move to the switch and play on. So a little bit more like old school circle work at the moment. But in this spot, I could imagine Carlton, if they get it, will go straight down the line.
They can't quite get it. It's Port Melbourne instead. Quick hand to Lazowski Hay means the Borough can get forward now towards the centre square. It's a one-on-one matchup with Gert. She can't quite get it. Jennifer Lou's there with those high socks. Gets past her opponent easily and goes back inside 50 for the Blues. Who's there? Trudgeon. The ball gets punched out of her head. She chases after it. The ball will trickle towards the boundary line, and it will be a lasso free kick towards the Borough.
She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. That's every time I keep thinking when the umpire does the lasso. As they have the ball now, I think it might be with McLaren on the far side of the ground in front of the scoreboard. 2.5 minutes remaining in the quarter. Carlton up by a point. Long went over the head. Waiting for it there was Klingbeil. I think Honeybun might have been wrapped up in that tackle. Just far side from our...
Rieger it was for the
Thank
Blues,
you.
wrapped up.
Through the binoculars. There, get some new ones, I reckon. As... Ramage was there, taken out of the pack by Lazowski Hay. Had to get rid of it. Zampaglione pickpocketed her, gave the hand pass off to a teammate who kicked it inside 50, only to be marked by McLaren back there for the Borough, who says, I'm going to go for a run, and I'm going to switch it towards the broadcast side because I see Ellie McDonald with space. Ellie McDonald's got 2 Blues coming at her. Kind of put the brakes on when she went with a kick to find Pip Peschke. Pip's got the footy. She looks forward. She says, I need a lead. I need someone to present to me. Had Kennedy worked wider of her, pushing up the ground again with more work is Ali McDonald. Draws the player, goes to Kennedy. Kennedy has got company, has to spin around. Kick is smothered off the boot, courtesy of Honeybun. Going in there is Linson. Going in for a second crack again is Emily McDonald, hutched out rugby ball style. There was Edwards, lost control of it as she was trying to get it towards Klingbeil. Luckily, umpire said it was Kennedy. They got Klingbeil on the back and will call for a free kick. And that goes quickly with a hand pass to Jen Liu. Jen Liu goes long towards half-back. Going to be intercepted. Taken away by Sarah Cincinnati. A sensational kick from her to Lasowski Hay. And she kicks it out towards the wing. Opportunity there to try and run to it. Millie Sean wanted to give the don't argue. Kicked it towards centre half forward. Juggling. Nailing it on the chest of her teammate there, who is around about 55 metres out from goal.
So Kate Adams will look to go inboard for the Borough. She's got a player there, and it does reach her in the end. I can't quite see it on the scoreboard, Ed. We've got the binoculars on. Anyway, the Borough will go inboard now. No need to name the player because Georgia Borgs looks like she's going to take the mark. Can't quite get to it. The Borough still have a chance here. The ball trickles forward. Wilson's there for the Borough, but Build. Great rebounding skills there by her. She's been prolific to start the first term. Kayla Peterson she tries to get to, but can't quite get to her. Borough go forward once again. Coletti's back there. So is Lou. It'll fall back into the hands of Coletti, but it's an error for the Blues, and it's a goal to Claire Dyer for the Port Melbourne Borough. That's their second of the day. It takes their score to 2-12, and the Blues are 1-1-7. We're just about to get to the quarter time, so, but before we do, Em Fox, what did you make of that passage of play?
Yeah, both of the defences for each team today have kind of been really solid and stalwart. So the small forwards getting their opportunities and making the most of them might be a really important part of this game.
Might have to have a talk to Port Melbourne about players wearing red ribbons in their hair, saying, only one player, please. We need some different colours, because the other one wearing red ribbon, besides Bridie Kennedy, as you were talking about that player on the forward pocket, which helped with that play, was Sophie Locke, one of the youngsters out of the Murray Bushrangers.
And even Holly Bailey's got a red scrunchie on, I see, as well. So, guys, just change up the colours. You've got blue as well. Help us out.
I know they had to do that years ago with a couple of now AFLW players, Ali Blackburn and M. Carney, because they both had the same colour same hairstyle, same colour hair, and they both used to wear a white scrunchie until it was figured out that one would wear the blue scrunchie, one would wear the white scrunchie, just to help everybody out. And Fox, let's get your thoughts on that first quarter. Back and forward.
Yeah, quick transition play by both teams, and to get 2 goals to 1 goal one, Port Melbourne's way, could have been a lot more higher scoring if they were taking their chances. At the moment, Carlton seem to be trying to go direct towards goal, but Port Melbourne have a really good tall back line who aren't afraid to back themselves in that marking contest. So 4 intercept marks for Port Melbourne in that first quarter in the back line is something Carlton need to be conscious of. And whereas when Port Melbourne is transitioning forward, really confident using that handball out the back, trying to do transition and switch. But once they get to half of the ground, I think they need to take the game on a bit more, stop looking for that handball there, and just start going a lot more direct towards the goals.
Let's take a look at the goal kickers at quarter time. Julia Montesano.
Yeah, so for Port Melbourne, it was Sophie Locke and Claire Dyer just in the last dying seconds of the quarter there. And for the Blues, it was Madison Wilson who got her first goal for Carlton's VFLW side. And some good, I think Sophie Locke in particular was pretty impressive in the forward line. Obviously, we talked about the red ribbon. We don't like her for that, but we like her for her movement across the field. So I think Carlton would be disappointed because they hung around Port Melbourne in that quarter. I think it's exactly the effort they want, but just that last bit of discipline in that last second of the first quarter would have hurt them on the rebound. So hopefully they get the spirits up the second quarter.
And as I throw to the quarter-time break, the crowd is still coming into the ground. As much as some Hawk supporters are leaving after the Darebin Hawthorn game, they are literally parking the cars on the nature strip here. We have a full car park in the sports precinct at La Trobe University.
That's the first time I've ever had to park on a nature strip, and I can tell you it was pretty scary trying to get my car up onto a nature strip. I thought I was going to blow a tyre, but good to note as well that the Carlton AFLW game is finished, so we might see if any of the players pop down to maybe catch the second half of the VFLW. So obviously in the AFLW, the Blues got the win over the Cats, and we'll see if the Blues can get the win over Port Melbourne today. But a good start from both teams and a good hit out.
Quarter time, it's Port Melbourne 2 straight 12, Carlton 1-1-7. We'll be back right after this.
Been playing for a while, sweet kicks, 'cause footy makes you smile, sweet kicks football. If you're getting ready for the trials, gotta go the extra mile, Sweet Kicks Football.
Not always hearing that sweet sound when you kick the ball? Need to develop your footwork or explosive speed? Want to take the next step in your footy career? Then you need Sweet Kicks. More info on our Facebook page or go to our website, sweetkicksfootballacademy.com.au.
Gotta go the extra mile. Sweet Kicks Football.
Oh, hi, I'm Maria from Sesame Street.
And Elmo's Elmo.
And we're here to talk about driveways. Driveways can be dangerous for children.
Or little red monsters.
So it's important for parents to always watch their children around them.
Yeah, driveways are for cars, not for planes.
That's right, Elmo. Play only in safe places away from driveways because people in cars may not see you.
Elmo sees you, Maria. Tag, you're it.
Here I come, Elmo. Remember, driveways are like roads. Always supervise, separate, and see. Learn more at kidsafevic.com.au.
How often should you wash your hands?
Maybe around 9 times a day. 4?
Like 20?
Maybe twice a day.
Whenever they feel dirty.
When should you wash your hands?
After you touch some raw meat and before starting to eat. At the beginning, I wash my hands before preparing food.
How would you rate your knowledge of food safety?
Probably like an 8 out of 10.
6 or 7.
7.5.
Learn more at foodsafety.asn.au/food safety training. Food safety, it's in your hands.
It's the VFL Women's Match of the Day.
On WARFradio.com and via the VFLW YouTube stream. Just go youtube.com/AFL Victoria. And at the ground, if you bring your little radio with you at the venue, you can listen to us on 89.1 FM. You are listening to the VFLW Match of the Day. It's a doubleheader today. Earlier, Hawthorn defeated Darebin in the early game down at Arden Street Oval. North Melbourne defeated the Western Bulldogs. And at the moment at quarter time, Port Melbourne 2 straight 12 lead Carlton 1-1-7, and to both Julia Montesano and Emily Fox here in the commentary box. The interesting thing is you really can't, lean either way on the scoreboard. It's really 2 scoring shots. Both coaches, even if you're Carlton, you're down by 5 points, it's like, doesn't matter. We're even keel at the moment. So the question is for both coaches, where to here? What's the message coming out where the game's pretty much on even Stevens?
Well, both teams seem to be playing a very similar style of football. They're both looking to play tight in the midfield. They're both really focused on getting handball out, trying to spread, and then go in hard and fast towards their forward lines. So they've both just got to both teams have to back themselves in, stick to their roles, stick to their game plans, and it'll be a really good arm wrestle to see whose adherence to that discipline with that game plan will get them across the line at the end of the day.
And trying to focus on some of the AFLW players at the moment. We saw a little bit of Jess Edwards getting a hand on the ball for Carlton. Paige Trudgeon is giving a bit of a lead up for, which is handy to know. And Julia Montesano on the Richmond side, we're seeing Emily Harley. We're seeing her make a physical presence at the forward line, which is very interesting because they went tall last week with Beth Wilson as the key target. Now the target is more of a mid-sized, solid build, impact type player.
Yeah, I'd love to know the thinking behind that. And it's a great move because Emily Harley's proved herself in her junior years as well as one of those leading targets. And another player that I'm particularly impressed with is Hannah McLaren. She's got a lot of the ball in the back line and she's really making sure that the Borough calm down because it has been a frenetic play. So she calms it down and usually she's working in tandem with McDonald as well. So a good little link-up play between those two there. But yeah, good signs for both AFLW players in both teams and we'll see how they go in the second quarter.
For Blue supporters that have just joined us, Winnie Lang was a late out, replaced by Marnie Jarvis in the side, and we're underway again. Georgia Borg doing the ruck work here for the Blues, trying to chase after it at ground level as Honeybun, brought down to ground by the former Blue and Courtney Bramage, and the umpire will call for a ball up between centre and centre half forward for the Blues, going to the left of screen if you're watching the VFLW YouTube stream. Trying to fight in there is Holly Bailey for the Borough. Can't get the football out. Now she does. Quick squeeze to Mel Kais, trying to get a hurry kick away. It was immediately smothered off the boot. Umpire is circling like the specials at Dimmies and says, I like that shirt for $9.99. I'll call for a ball up, thanks.
Now we'll get away from Dimmies and we'll head back to Bundoora. It's back in the middle and ball up. So the Blues will look to try and advance forward, but to do that they have to go back. So it's in the hands of Ali Build in the bright blue boots. The new skipper for VFLW, taking over Megan Neal and Nat Plain as co-captains in 2019. She heads out wide and finds a player in Coletti. Coletti has to go back inboard. Build gets another touch. Looks to go down the line this time instead of a short option. Georgia Borg's there. She's been a great presence for the Blues so far in her first game of the year. Can't quite get it into her hands though, so the Borough will look to go forward. Peshke's there. She can't quite onto it. Emily Harley, the player that we were talking about just off air, Pete, was chasing after the ball there, and she's playing on Emily Harley this time. Emily Harley's playing on Jennifer Liu this time round, so we'll see how that matchup pans out.
Yeah, Lou was really busy in that first quarter with her rebound play. Really busy with her rebound play. So she might have to play a little bit more honest on Harley, but at the same time, could be a good matchup to run off and create some rebound play.
Now, Tanner doing the ruck work. She gets, let's see what happens here. Free kick going the way, giving away too high to the... Well, she pointed away the Blues. Now it's definitely a Port Melbourne free kick. The umpire's pointing one way, then the other way, trying to be a traffic cop. Either way, it ends up with Abby Tanner out of the contest. And Tanner goes short with a kick. Oh, it should have stuck. Doesn't matter. Bramage was coming through. Her flying shot at goal is out of bounds on the full. Port Melbourne remain at 2 straight 12. Carlton 1-1-7. 2 minutes gone here in the second quarter on WARFradio.com. Here's Julia Montesano.
So Jennifer Liu will do the kicking out options from that on the full kick in defensive 50 for the Blues. She goes for a bit of a run now, looks to go down the line. It's tucked up against the boundary line. Georgia Borg's there, a tall target, but can't quite get to it. Peterson got hands on it as well. So Port Melbourne will actually try to keep the ball in. Bramage, it's in her hands again. Just misses the target. Now Peterson could go for a run for the Blues. She finds the target in Zan Palioni. She's in the centre square. Gets wrapped up immediately though. Tegan Brett tries to get it back, but Peterson immediately wraps up the Port Melbourne Borough. And it looks like it'll be balling up, but the umpire decides to hold a whistle in his mouth a bit longer, and now we'll have a ball up just inside the centre square.
Umpire resets play. 5-point lead currently to the Borough. Umpire says there's a holding infringement in the ruck contest, and it's going the way of Bramage for the Borough. Has the footy just forward of centre. Gets on the right boot. Acknowledges a lead in lock inside. Apparently it was Kennedy inside 50. Came off her hands. Taken immediately away by Klingbeil for the Blues. Awkward bouncing football trying to find Zampak Leone. Couldn't find her. Wilson was also going through the middle as well. Either way, the Borough do have the football near centre half forward. Coming through there was Bramage. Couldn't quite pick up the pill. Waiting on the outside, Kais. You can see Kennedy lurking around. Kennedy tries to take them on. Empty goal square. Bouncing football, and it turned to the left at the last second. She wanted it to be a flipper, and it turned in to be a leg spinner. And it's Port Melbourne 2-1-13. Carlton 1-1-7. And we got 16 minutes remaining in the second term.
So Jennifer Liu looks to kick the ball out, but she doesn't find a player, and it will be the Lasso free kick. No one touched it, so... It will be the last touch. Will the Borough have a chance now to go back inside 50? There's a few players lurking there. No one could quite get to it. The ball's wrapped up in the centre square. Peshke runs onto it. Bursts into an open goal square. Bree goes there. She can mop it up for the Blues if she can be clean. She has time now. No one quite came to her. Jennifer Liu's there for company. So Liu will go on the outside now to get out of that danger zone for the Blues. She does. And Kayla Peterson, the player from Cairns, she's got the ball in her hands and the pink flashy boots today. So... Peterson will look for an option down the line. She finds Georgia Borg in for her first game today. Part of the I think it was the 2018 VFLW squad for Carlton as well. So getting a few bits of touches here in the second quarter. But unfortunately that kick goes right in the throat there of the Borough. So the Borough now can go back inside 50. Holly Bailey's there, but so is Kayla Peterson, who's going to get her second touch in the matter of minutes. Peterson now will look for the switch. Builds there. It's a dangerous kick. But the composure from the captain, she stood up against a charging Emily Harley. She'll go back to her vice-captain, Jennifer Liu. Jennifer Liu will now look to go on the other side of the ground. She kicks it on the outside of the boot. And it's in the hands of Charlotte Hammonds, the AFLW listed player. She slows the ball down and tries to look to go down the line. There isn't much option there. In fact, there's a 3 Borough player. Georgia Borg runs in to try and get the mark. Mel Kais ups it up, but it goes straight to the hands of Jessie Coletti. So a bit of back and forth football to start off this second quarter. Coletti gets the quick hands to Build. Build shoved as she kicked it, and then it did affect the kick in the end. And it'll go in the hands of Alan McDonald for Port Melbourne. He's got a lot of touches early on. McDonald finds a spare player of Bramage. She just drops the mark. Bree goes right there with her. She'll jump straight onto her back and try and get the ball wrapped up there, and she does. So the umpire will ball it up, and we'll head over to match analyst Emily Fox for her thoughts.
Yeah, Carlton's really making sure that Jen Liu is getting the ball out of that back line. She's using it really, really well. But that next option isn't happening for Carlton. Port Melbourne getting back on top and getting it back into the 50 far too easily right now.
Lasowski tried to get a clearing kick and got bowled over, almost fell on the ball. In fact, she did and had to go back and get the hand pass out. Pickpocketed away by Honeybun. Honeybun's kick straight down the throat of Ali McDonald, who dropped it like a hot spud, then got it across to Millie Sean. Sean drew through players, had to then go backwards to McDonald, who, again, it's like a piece of soap in her hand. She's just struggling to hold it at the moment. Stanley then gets it quickly to McClellan. McClellan goes towards centre half forward. Awkward bouncing ball. They try to trap it here, the Blues, and they might find themselves pinned for holding the football if they're not lucky enough. Pip Pesky comes in. Umpire says no prior opportunity. It was Jen Liu that was caught with the pill, and the umpire says, I'll have it back, please. So we'll ball it up. 1 goal the difference. Barra leading the Blues with 13 and a half minutes remaining in the quarter. Spinning out there, McDonald taken high. You can hear the Barra supporters disagreeing there, saying she was taken high. Then when they got a free kick, they go, oh, really? We got one? Now taken there on the back line, taken away by Edwards. Edwards going across to Liu. Liu's going to go for a run. Have a bounce. She's got a player on her hammer. Knew she was coming, got the kick away, kicked it to space, wanting Peterson to run onto it. Got an open paddock in front of her. Goes for an awkward bouncing football, and it didn't bounce back to her cleanly enough, and that means it's going to be a turnover. Port Melbourne ball. They're going to go long up the wing position. Coming through there and almost being tripped over was Pip Pesky. Umpire says it's all fair and will call for a ball up on the far side of the ground. Match analyst Emily Fox.
That was Carlton's best chance this quarter to get it deep into their forward line and really threaten for a goal. But sadly, one bad bounce and it's turned the game around. It's a skill that the women's game really needs to see improve, is bouncing that ball on the run.
So Peterson, who did miss that bounce again, gets another chance to prove herself. She gets it forward now. There's a Borough player waiting, though, and it's Hannah McLaren with the zinc on her face. McLaren tries to kick inboard now towards the centre square. She's got a player running onto her in Shone. Millie Shone goes on the outside. And the Borough now have a chance to try and go inside 50. Claire Dye's got the ball in her hands. The ball will advance forward again through Sansonetti. Sansonetti tackled immediately as she handballed it. It falls to the hands of Kate Adams, who's right there with Marnie Jarvis. Jarvis affects the kick, affects the tackle, and we won't get a ball up. The ball will spill out, so it's in deep inside the Borough's 50. Well, not deep, just inside the Borough's 50. They'll try to kick it out now. Jennifer Liu's there on her own. She's got a player hot on her hammer in McDonald. McDonald's got the speed this time. She'll kick it from the boundary line, and it's just through for a behind. So Port Melbourne get the first score of this quarter, and it's 2-2-14 to 1-1-7. We've played just over 11 minutes into the second quarter. Match analyst M. Fox.
You could call Jen Liu Uluru right now because she's an absolute rock in defence, but you can see right now she's starting to blow it. All the work rate that she's had to do to keep this Carlton defence together, someone else needs to step up and help her out.
Countdown clock here, Julia, at La Trobe University. 11 and a half minutes to go.
I love that.
But it takes away the fun.
I
know we play straight 20-minute quarters, but you like to be kept in suspense. And the kick by the Blues is wide. And Lasso, it will be a free kick going the way of the Borough. It's going to end up with Mel Kais. She has it 60 metres out from goal.
And that, once again, that was Jen Liu kicking the ball out, and it was not a great kick because you can just tell she's really fatigued. Carlton's defence is getting swamped right now, and everyone needs to start standing up as a collective.
And they will with this long kick out of defence after they intercepted the Mel Kais kick inside 50. Awkward bouncing ball to Ingram, who guessed it right, but then ran into trouble, and that is Mel Kais, who we spoke about earlier, who immediately brought it to ground. Taking away there is Lisa Davey. Her kick, not great, nothing to go to. And again, it will be the Blues out of defence. Jen Liu has actually pushed up the ground, and she might make an impact on this contest. Trying to come at it from the side was Wilson as well. Liu out the back, kicked it. Now, this will be a lasso because she kicked it on the ground. That it counts as a disposal. Remember, it's not last touch, it's the last disposal rule. Emily Fox.
Yeah, Jen Liu was actually trying to make her way to the bench, but was just too committed to the play and had to help herself and get back in there again.
So Jen Liu now will get opportunity to run onto the bench. And the Borough now will have a chance to get it back inside 53. Millie Shone finds a lead there, but can't quite get to her. Kalevsky with the good defence there, and will tap the ball out, and we'll have a throw in just inside 50 for the Borough. So the umpire has to run in that 10 metres to try and get the ball into more of an attacking position for those players out there. A couple of tired bodies early on, and you mentioned, Pete, it's not quite 28 degrees, but it's still quite hot conditions for footy. So the umpire will throw the ball back in now. We're deep inside 50 for the Borough. Mel Kais with a great clearance there, tries to get it forward, can't quite find a teammate at a target. The Blues have numbers back there in Coletti. Coletti tries to get a handball out. Remember, Jennifer Liu is off the ground, not injured or anything, just off the ground. So we'll see how the Blues can mop out a defence now. They'll do it through build. Doesn't quite work. Peschke went towards goal, but it went out on the full instead. So Pip Peschke, for her first game for the Borough today, doesn't quite make the impact she wanted on that kick. But Em Fox, what do you think?
She had a lot more time than she actually realised. Tried to put on the boot off one step, which is usually not a very good thing to do. But that's just obviously new to the game. First game today. I hope she'll take more of her chances as the game goes on.
Sophie Locke committed at the football then, spoiled and went over the boundary line and out of bounds, and we'll have a throw in 40 metres out from the Borough goal, going to the right of vision for those watching on the YouTube stream. Otherwise, you're listening on WARFradio.com and at the ground on 89.1 FM as the ball is thrown back into play. Immediately sharked out of the ruck there by Naily Borg. Getting involved there is Peterson, who is brought to ground for the Blues. Also there is Linson. And the umpire says, again, it was Ingram will call for a ball up. We're 45 metres out from the Borough goal. It feels like most of the play this half has just been, the quarter has been down this forward half for the Borough. Trying to get a hurry kick there is Beth Wilson, who was immediately smothered off her boot. Ingram almost brings rain with her kick. Wilson tries to spoil Sansonetti, but Sansonetti is too strong. Sarah Sansonetti, Richmond-listed player, playing with Port Melbourne today, kicks it long towards the top of the goal square. Sophie Locke is there. Player trying to do a little bit of acting work, bending the shoulders back. The umpire says, I'm not buying it, as it was Kate Adams who kicked it through for a minor score. And that ticked things along now to 2-3-15 Port Melbourne. Carlton 1-1-7. 7.5 minutes remaining in the second term. As the ball's on the outer side of the ground, they'll go up the line trying to find Hammonds. Close towards the boundary line, will come off hands now, over and out. Let's get some thoughts from Emily Fox.
Yeah, Carlton defence really getting swamped right now, but they're not really having any problems transitioning it outside of that 50. It's the next kick forward that they're struggling with, and I think their forwards just need to start working harder, hold space in the middle of the ground, start working to the wings so they can actually create some better options.
So Kalevsky will sit in the ruck. It's still trapped in the Borough's forward 50. They'll try and get it forward now. They're met immediately by Carlton players. Kalevsky has to get back her own work, and the umpire's picked out a free kick. It'll go the way of the Blues. They have a chance to try and get out of this Borough forward 50 pressure. It's in the hands of Zampaglione. She'll go towards the wing. There's a couple of Port Melbourne players there. No one could quite get to it. Bramage was immediately jumped on. The supporters are calling for a free kick. They won't quite get one. Honeybud's there for the Blues. She can pick it up and try and make amends of it, but she can't. There's a couple of Borough players there and a good spin out of the contest there, and it'll go forward again. Coletti had the mark over her head but couldn't quite grab it, and the umpire looks like he will reward her for that because it was chopping the arms. And Jessie Coletti, former Pascoe Vale defender, will go towards the wing now. A couple of Port Melbourne players there. They'll try and get it forward again. There's a couple of Carlton players there. On the lead was Kennedy. Couldn't quite get into her hands. Carlton will try and paddle it out of defensive 50. Mel Kais now will go back in. Jessie Coletti's there with those strong hands, and she looks like she's trying to mop up that Jennifer Liu absence right now. She switches to Jess Edwards. So Jess Edwards could go for a bit of a run. She's met immediately by Kennedy. Just her off, just like a dusty fend-off. Goes inside the centre square now. Doesn't quite find her intended target. Madison Wilson's there. Ellie McDonald's there. The umpire's there. He's circling, and he will call a ball up just outside the centre square. Em Fox.
Stoppage is probably the best result for Carlton after that initial play. They did have players moving into the space out into the flank and the wing. Didn't use it, went corridor again, but they should be able to reset from here.
As Zampaglione had it immediately try to get the hand pass away to Klingbeil. Ball dropped. There goes Zampaglione again, just slapping the ball in front of herself. Doesn't go in to pick it up in the end. Trying to dive on top of it was McClellan. Having a crack at it. Klingbeil one more time, getting spun around by McClellan. Umpire says sling tackle, free kick going the way of the Blues. Around the ground scores in the AFLW halfway through the second quarter. It's the Western Bulldogs 1-2-8. Collingwood 7 behind in a COVID sellout at Victoria Park.
Wow. Different result there for Collingwood. They'll definitely want to get their accuracy up. Brie Gurr back on the ground now for back at Latrobe. Brie Gurr's got the ball for the Blues. We'll try and kick it forward. There's not much players there in terms of Carlton options, so Port Melbourne will have a chance to get it back forward. So they'll look to assess their options. It looks like Naily Borg with the ball in her hands. Borg will go towards the centre square. Bramage is there, but she's met by Tolabaya. And Jennifer Liu flying in for the mark. We've spoken about how inspirational she's been. Back with the flight. Now we'll try to switch it across the field. And she does. And it falls in the hands of Jasmine Ware. Jasmine Ware's got Build there for comfort. The kick doesn't quite get to her. Build will have to find a Bramage. She does. She stands up in the tackle and Build will try and go forward now. Unfortunately for her, it falls straight into the hands of Kalia Stanley, the in today for Port Melbourne. So Stanley will look to get it back inside 50 for Port Melbourne. And it's the leader standing up for Carlton in Build and Lou. So Port Melbourne now have a chance to go back inside 50. The ball spills out of the hands there of Claire Dyer. She has to run onto it. She's still running onto it. From outside 50, she has a ping at goals. There's a couple of Carlton players there. There's a couple of Port Melbourne players there too. Kate Adams is lurking. She can't quite get to it. Sophie Locke's lurking. She's kicked one goal today. Can she kick a second? She absolutely can. And it's from the boundary line just to top it off. Sophie Locke, if you don't mind, gets Port Melbourne's third goal for the day. They're 3-3-21. The Blues are 1-1-7, and it looks like the Borough are running away with this one in the second quarter. M. Fox.
That was an unbelievable goal from the pocket, but it just goes to show that Port Melbourne are making really hard work of all of their options. It's all the players been inside Carlton's defence today, or particularly in this quarter, for 1-3 when it really could easily be 3-1. So Port Melbourne, if they keep on top of this, they might start running away. Carlton's defence can't do much more right now. The rest of the Carlton team needs to start to pick up.
Sophie Locke with the party tricks. She does kids' parties, weddings, bar mitzvahs, 21sts, and just occasionally coming down to the forward pocket saying, this is how it's done. Great goal of the day contender, and Port Melbourne are 3-3-21. Carlton 1-1-7. 3 minutes remaining second term on WARFradio.com, the home of VFL women's football. Zampaglione get it off the pack, gets the hand pass away across to Ingram. Ingram pumps it inside 50. Numbers back there with the Borough though, and they'll kick it long in towards the central corridor. Could be ping pong football here, because coming through is Kloveski, had it momentarily, got it across to Ingram. Look out, here's trouble. She's immediately wrapped up on the edge of the centre square. The umpire said there was no prior opportunity as Mel Kais gets up, and the tackler, I think, was Kate Adams, and we'll reset play. We are 70 metres out from the Blues goal, going left of screen for those watching the video stream. Zampaglione tried to get the ball out, couldn't do so. Fighting hard for it is Georgia Borg. Ball does squeeze out momentarily. Pack quickly forms again. In goes Courtney Bramage. Ball hit the deck. Zampaglione had it momentarily. Popped out quickly on the boot there of Naily Borg for the Borough, but intercepted by the Blues, and they sent it back from whence it came towards centre half forward. Zampaglione again getting involved. In goes Wilson fighting hard for the football. Borough ball when it came out to Bramage. Quick by hands. This is a lovely transition here to Claire Dyatt. Dyatt, it's 2-on-1. The numbers favouring the Blues. Awkward bouncing football. Ball still bouncing. It's in the forward pocket though. Here comes company. Is that deliberate? I think so. And the umpire says no. My. And we'll call for a throw in. We need to bring back that old segment. What's your decision?
Or please explain. One of those ones too. I think that's a good name for the segment as well. But if you call there from the umpire, Jessica Letty just had to shovel it out. So we'll have a throw in now inside Boris forward 50. Jess Edwards is there for the Blues. We'll look to hack it out of there. She does. Straight to the hands of Linson. So Charlotte Linson looks to go wide. She has a player there at Kalevsky. She's in company there by Stanley. Stanley manages to keep it in for the Borough. Tries to get it towards the forward 50, but Madison Wilson's there. Kalevsky immediately wrapped up by Hannah McLaren, and the umpire will say it was a dangerous tackle instead. So Taylor Kalevsky gets the free kick. And Jess Edwards, you can see, just telling her to settle down. The Blues have a chance here to try and get a counter-attack here. So Kalevsky, the ruck for the Blues. An awkward kick in the air, but does find Ingram. She drops the mark, has to fetch her own footy. Peschke, immediately smothered by Madison Wilson. Gets it over to Stanley, playing her first game for the Borough today. Honeybun, though, it's in her hands. Kicks to a 1-on-1, and the Borough will have a chance to go back up forward now. So Hannah McLaren's there on the wing, so is Bramage. Bramage, it falls into her hands. She looks immediately for an option. Peschke is running past. That's a tongue twister. Courtney Bramage goes inboard now, but it's only Carlton players there, and it falls into the hands of Jess Edwards, who's been good off the rebound today for the Blues. Maybe trying to push her chance for an AFLW berth once again. So Edwards, kick immediately smothered, just as I said it. Put the muzzle in. Sorry about that, Jess. Kais now, tackled high. She was. And the umpire will pay a free kick to Mel Kais, who was tackled high by Esther Honeybun of the Blues. And she'll have a kick for goal right on the half-time siren. So Mel Kais, she'll have it from about 40 metres out. It's just a slight angle, but you could say she's pretty much straight in front.
And Julie, I'd like to officially welcome you to the Commentators Club. You're now an official member.
Yeah, I was someone.
On someone.
Oh, I thought I'd do that. I think I did it in the men's game when I commentated a couple of weeks ago too. So it's my first share of women's moz. But hopefully I'll put the moz on Mel Keyes because she's got the ball. She had there's a puppy on the ground. Actually, we're seeing a little dog hop on the ground now. I'm getting distracted. Look at me. The trainer's trying to get the dog off the ground.
It's not quite our version of it's a kick it full forward.
Yeah, there's a dog on centre wing, but Mel Keyes, she ignores all the action on the sidelines. She lines up for her first goal of the day. It looks good off the boot. Doesn't quite have the accuracy, though, and it goes out on the full. So the dog's still running around on the field, but at half-time, it's Port Melbourne 3-3-21, Carlton at 1-1-7. The goal in that quarter for Port Melbourne came off the back of Sophie Locke, her magician's work from the boundary. Other than that, it was 3 behind for Port Melbourne. Carlton couldn't get a score on the board, and the dog is now off the ground.
Emily Fox, feel free, comments on the game or the dog.
The dog's pretty cute.
I'll focus on the game at the moment. The story of that quarter was really Port Melbourne's disciplined play and adherence to their game plan. So Carlton were really swamped given the so many inside 50s for Port Melbourne. But the reason why Carlton couldn't get it back out and it kept going back in was Port Melbourne's defence were really proactive in pushing up on that ground. They would set up zones so it looked like Carlton didn't have many options to go to, but were really quick to push back onto one-on-one contests to bring the ball to ground, and their midfield would just flood and push back forward. So I think Carlton's forwards probably need to start working a bit more. They might need to have a look at how they can stretch this Port Melbourne defence, who are just being far too disciplined for the Carlton forwards right now, and is giving Port Melbourne all these opportunities to put points on the board.
I think some major concerns for Luke O'Shannessy will be after that good first quarter. They're slipping back into the problem they had pretty much in the second quarter last week before Casey Demons put down the hammer, and that was the Blues at times were holding up okay under siege. They were coming off the half-back, but they could not find a connection, could not find a link-up, could not find a good running play on the wing at all through the quarter. History repeats itself for a second week in a row.
Yeah, it looks like the Blues are going to struggle to get back into this contest. The scoreboard says they can, but just the amount of the Blues just looked a bit stagnant in that second quarter for mine. It was trapped in the Burrows forward 50 for a long periods of that second quarter, and even though Jennifer Liu and Ali Beale did their best out of defence, they just couldn't get it past that centre line and couldn't get it a forward advance.
Yeah, there's a few Carlton players that might need to start asserting themselves onto the game. We really haven't seen Paige Trudgeon get much of the ball. Maybe needs to start presenting a bit more, hit those contests and just keep Port Melbourne more honest with that rebound play that Carlton are trying to do right now. But I thought Honeybun has also been pretty strong. She's working hard around the ball. So is Zampaglione. I think that her work rate has been really good. Just needs a little bit more support in the midfield.
We should also point out for Carlton fans, as you know, that Harris and Walker didn't play in the AFLW game. It was officially put down that they were out as managed. No, they have not played today in the VFLW, not being named. So it's not an omission in them playing in this game. Winnie Lang, who's a Carlton AFLW listed player who started last week, was named in the best players, not playing today. If you just joined us, Luke O'Shannessy said during the pre-game she was actually feeling a little bit under the weather. She did some sprint work and that was about it for the day. She was replaced pre-game by Marnie Jarvis. Standout players for the Borough before we hit the halftime break, because really it was all about Port in that second quarter, and maybe they should be a little further in front.
Yeah, you can't go past Sophie Locke with those two majors, and that one major in the second quarter from the boundary line absolutely got the Borough up and about. I think she's been fantastic. I think McDonald showed great signs as well. McLaren in the back line's been fantastic. Bromage woke up in that second quarter. I thought she was a bit quiet to start off the game, but I thought she had a lot of the ball for the Borough. Mel Keyes, obviously, with that shot after the Sorrows. There's a couple of good contributors there for Port Melbourne, and a couple of those VFLW core players. So Good contribution all round for the Borough. What are your thoughts, Em?
Yeah, I agree with that. The Richmond-listed players right now haven't really asserted themselves on the game. McClellan's been busy without being spectacular, and it's those lower, lesser lights, I suppose, the ones that don't get all the attention that are starting to stand up. I've been really impressed with Pip Pesky's play as well. I thought that she's been offering a lot of run. Could be a little bit cleaner, but the fact that she's getting the ball, working hard to create space, you can never question intent. If she brushes up on the skills in the second half, she'll really make more of an impact on the game.
We'll take this opportunity to take a break at half-time. It's Port Melbourne 3-3-21 leading Carlton 1-1-7. We'll be back after this.
A tough time doesn't excuse abusive behaviour at home, Even in crisis, there's no place for domestic or family violence. If you, your family or community is affected, help is available online and by phone 24/7. For free, confidential advice, support and counselling for everyone, contact 1800-RESPECT. There's no place for domestic or family violence. Help is here. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Australia is working hard to ensure we all have access to safe, effective and free COVID-19 vaccines, which will give us the protection to go about our everyday lives. The COVID-19 vaccines are being assessed carefully by independent clinical experts to ensure all potential vaccines meet Australia's high safety and quality standards. After vaccines are approved, they'll be rolled out, going to those most in need of protection first. To keep up to date, visit health.gov.au. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
There's jumpers, hoodies and tees for you at leaguetees.com.au.
Leaguetees.com.au is your place for retro footy gear with designs created by local artists that you won't find anywhere else. Plus, their unique range of women's footy tees help raise funds for Indigenous literacy programs. Get online and start shopping today.
leaguetees.com.au.
If you've had something stolen,
or if you've had property damaged, you need the police, not the sirens. If you've lost something or found something valuable,
or if you want to register a party or let us know you're going away on holiday, you need the police, not the sirens.
When you need the police, but not the sirens, you can now report these incidents online at police.vic.gov.au or call 131 444.
Authorised by the Victorian Government, Melbourne.
Hey, Gary, what time you call this? Yeah, the traffic was really bad. Oh, there's Steve-o. G'day, Steve. Morning. How's your weekend? Same old, same old. What'd you get up to? Not much. Are you okay, mate?
Looking out for one another is something we all need to do. So if a mate's struggling, ask, are you okay? Listen, encourage action, and check in again soon. Those 4 steps could change their life. Find out more at areyouok.org.au.
Draft Central is entering a new era, covering all the state leagues from the VFLW, SANFL-W, WAFL-W and QAFL-W, as well as their primary focus, the NAB League Girls. Draft Central has you covered when it comes to all you need to know about the future stars of the AFL Women's. Draft Central, brought to you by Rookie Me, is now on YouTube, so be sure to subscribe at Draft Central, as well as on our Facebook, Twitter and Instagram pages at Draft Central Oz.
Could you recognise if one of your friends or family was having a stroke? Think fast.
F. Face.
Check their face. Has their mouth drooped?
A. Arms.
Can they lift both arms?
S. Speech.
Is their speech slurred or confused?
T. Time.
Don't wait. Call 000 now. Think fast. Act fast.
A message from the National Stroke Foundation.
It's Anna Mears winning gold.
Hey, I'm Anna Mears. Winning gold at the Olympics was an incredible feeling. And having my biggest rival, who I'd just beaten, right up next to me and lift my hand in victory, topped off an amazing moment. We'd had our fair share of clashes over the years, but in the end we both respected each other, and that's what really counts in sport. Be gracious in victory and in defeat. To keep your sport inclusive, safe and fair, go to playbytherules.net.au.
Hi, this is Missy Higgins for RAD, recording artists, actors and athletes against drink driving. I see a lot of things at gigs, mostly people having a good time and a few drinks. But what I'd hate to see is someone getting behind the wheel after they'd been drinking. Being even a little bit over the limit makes it too easy to lose control. So if you plan to drink, plan ahead. Arrange a designated driver who won't drink. Remember, music lives and you should too.
Hi, Kirk Pengilly from InXS here. And whether it's music, sweet things, puppies, movies, we all love our treats. But our eyes need treating too. 300,000 Australians, including me, are affected by glaucoma. Diagnosed early, glaucoma can be managed. Left undiagnosed, it can cause blindness. So treat yourself by treating your eyes to a simple test. Book your test at treatyoureyes.org.au today.
Did you know you have superpowers? This March, World's Greatest Shave is back. Will you be a superhero and step up to shave the world from blood cancer? Every day, another 41 Australians are diagnosed with blood cancer. These families need your help. Lose your locks or colour your hair to raise funds for urgently needed support and to accelerate blood cancer research. Your superhero moment awaits. Sign up now at worldsgreatestshave.com or call 1-800-500-088 to find out more.
No business wants to throw money away. But did you know sending resources to landfill can be more expensive than recycling them? Planet Ark's free business recycling service can kickstart your workplace recycling journey, help you find the right recycling solutions and give you a competitive edge. Join the 1 million Australians using business recycling to keep valuable resources in circulation. Visit businessrecycling.com.au. It's just good business.
They're my grandkids. Gee, they can make some noise. But you know what? It's a beautiful sound because they're alive and having fun. The sound I hate is silence in the pool. When a child drowns, you hear nothing. No splashing, no cries for help. Be vigilant around water. Fence the pool, shut the gate. I teach your kids to swim, it's great. Supervise, watch your mate, and learn how to resuscitate. I'm Laurie Lawrence. Kids Alive, do the 5.
It's women's Aussie rules. They're doing what they love. They're fast, they're tough. Don't mess with them because they can get rough. Are you ready for the challenge? Are you ready for the match? It's the call of the game. It's the VFL Women's Match of the Day. It's the VFL Women's Match of the Day.
On WARFradio.com. And if you're wondering what the heck does the WARF stand for, it's short for Women's Australian Rules Football. WARFradio.com, home of our live streams and our weekly podcasts, and also via the YouTube stream, youtube.com/AFL Victoria, and at the ground on 89.1 FM. You're listening to the VFL Women's Match of the Day. We're at half-time. It's Port Melbourne 3-3-21, leading Carlton 1-1-7. Goal kickers for the Borough, 2 to Sophie Locke, 1 to Claire Diet, and for the Blues, the single goal kicker is Madison Wilson. You have Peter Holden, Julia Montesano, and Emily Fox with you for the call. It's part of our doubleheader today. Earlier, it was Hawthorn defeating Darebin, and at Arden Street Oval, big win there to North Melbourne over the Western Bulldogs in an upset. In the AFLW, was Carlton winners over Geelong today, and at the moment, at half-time at Victoria Park, where it is a COVID-restricted sellout, the Western Bulldogs 139 lead Collingwood 0-7 behind 7.
God, that's a stat that Collingwood will want to change around very quickly. And I was struggling to tip this match during the week. I knew it was going to be a close match, but yeah, Collingwood's inaccuracy is going to hurt them.
I want to ask Emily a question for the moment, because we talk about the bounce of the ball, and we're talking about when one of the Carlton players lost control of it during the second quarter. And we saw it happen a fair bit, actually, yesterday for the poor old Southern Saints. Collingwood got the luck of the bounce of the ball. And I always keep wondering, do you have to look at the bounce of the ball different? Not because of pure shape, but the size of the ball itself, as opposed to men's football, that heavier size 6 ball, and the women's ball, which used to be a 4.5, but is now a smaller size 4 ball. I keep thinking, for example, the boundary umpires got brought in 10 metres for their boundary throw-ins. One of the reasons was the lighter ball held up in the breeze, and they were struggling to really get it back into play like they do the heavier ball. And I'm wondering, because I've never actually bounced the actual women's football and, just walked around with it, thinking, is there much difference to the bounce of the size 4 ball versus the size 6 ball?
There's not much difference. The important thing is you can't just throw the ball on the ground. You can't just let it go and expect it to bounce up. You've got to put it into the ground with a bit of impact, a bit of spice, I suppose. You can't just throw it out there and expect it to come back up at you. And as a forward, I've got to admit that I don't really like it when I watch my wings or my midfielders streaming forward bouncing, because it can throw out your leads, it'll throw out your running pattern. So unless you get that real 15-metre carry and then put the bounce on, watching people bounce can be a little bit frustrating, especially if it doesn't come off. Also, I've got to admit, when I played at full-back, I didn't mind having a 5 or 6 bounce run down the wing, but it's because it's a skill that I know that I can do on both hands if I need to. It's just a matter of really making sure that you throw the ball into the ground, let it come up. I don't think it's something that players focus on at training, but then when they feel like they have to do it in the game, more often doesn't work than it does. And I think it's something that teams probably just need to reassess and see if this is what we want to do. We want to encourage our players to run and carry. It's a fundamental skill that just needs to be cleaned up.
One thing we do actually want to quickly mention, very apt with the AFLW game coming up later this afternoon. Of course, Emily and Julia are part of the Making the Call program, which was a state government initiative. Julia, of course, was before us with Making the Call, but has stepped up to play-by-play after going through Making the Call. And Emily, of course, we hooked up with through Making the Call and becoming a match analyst. And the reason I mention that is a fellow Making the Call member in Kate McCarthy. You may know her from the Southern Saints and the St Kilda Football Club. In the AFLW, and of course previously a couple of grand finals with the Brisbane Lions. Kate McCarthy will be doing special comments today on the Derby 2.0 between Freo and the West Coast Eagles. So that game coming up around about 5 Eastern. If you watch, obviously, on Fox Footy, KO Sports, or for free via the AFL Women's app or the women's.afl website. So check out Kate McCarthy doing some of her finest work as match analyst, like she also does for Triple M and also appearances on SEN. Is there any other media outlet she's not on at the moment?
Yeah, I'm struggling to think of ones that she hasn't put her name towards, but she's doing a great job, Kate McCarthy, not just on the field but off the field as well. And yeah, thanks to shout out for Making the Call. It's obviously a great program that's allowed us to get a bit more confidence and get a bit more females in the commentary box, so we're loving it.
And follow on Twitter at Making Call, because they've got round 2 applications open for women that are interested in taking part at Making Call on Twitter. To get us underway for the third quarter, here is Julia Montesano.
Here we go. So Georgia Borg's back in the ruck for the Blues, and Port Melbourne is still leading the way. It's going to be a congested footy so far in the middle. A jumping tackle there by the Borough. The umpire's going to ball it up though. So a slow start for both teams, and as expected, it is just after half-time. Still a pretty warm day here at Trobe Uni. Just a slight breeze coming through. So Georgia Borg's back in the ruck for the Blues. She's been solid in there today, has played most of the game. But the umpire's going to ball it up straight away once again. So both teams just trying to get the hang of things in the third quarter so far. And we're back in the middle again. Holly Bailey gets it out now. Peterson for the Blues is immediately wrapped up by McDonald. Tries to get the handball out. Spins one way, spins the other. The umpire's circling and he will ball it up once again. So a couple of ball ups to start the third quarter, and we're still in the centre square now. We haven't quite advanced to either side of the centre square. So Port Melbourne this time get the tap out. Klingbell's moved up to the midfield, so it'll be interesting to see what she can do there for the Blues.
It's almost like we're watching a boxing match entering the 6th round, where they're just starting to work around the ropes a little bit and eyeing each other off, figuring what to do next. It's a little bit of cagey footy right now, but we'll hopefully see it break out.
Yeah, a lot of corralling so far I'm seeing as well. So now we've got a bit of space now for the Borough. Sansonetti gets quick hands to McDonald. McDonald tries to go for a run. Peterson's right there with her. Can't quite lay a tackle. Sansonetti will now try and get a kick towards the wing. Has to go off the ground is Mikulev for the Blues. So Mikulev will try and get it forward, but Sansonetti now will try and have a chance for the Borough. Dye it with a long kick. It's goes straight to the hands of the vice-captain, Jennifer Liu, though, who's been an absolute rock. Uluru, like you mentioned there. Great call there by UM Fox. She goes forward now. The Blues have a chance to get there first of the quarter. Paige Trudger with the big hands up there. Just falls over as she tries to attempt the mark. Port Melbourne now have a chance to bump up through Hannah McLaren. McLaren goes wide. Millie Shones there for the Borough. Has Edwards there immediately for company. Gets around her. Great move there by Millie Shon. So she'll go back in ball now. And Sophie Locke, with 2 goals so far for Port Melbourne, is right in the middle of the ground. Jen Liu aims to go for a smother, but Locke just steps right around her and gets a beautiful kick lace out on the chest of Bridie Kennedy. So Kennedy, just outside 50 for the Borough. Will look for an option inboard, gets told to play on by the umpire, goes for a bit of a run. Ingram's there on the mark, can't quite have the ball out. Goes inside 50, just dropped out of Emily Harley's hands. Can Sophie Locke go for a third? She gets around one player, can't get around the other. And the umpire will pay a hold in the ball, free kick, and it will go the way of the Blues deep in defence.
As Locke just gets up feeling a little worse for wear from that tackle. Blues with the ball deep in defence. They look to come to the broadcast side, going short to Jessica Letty, who takes the mark in the back pocket. In front of a very good crowd here at La Trobe University. Been enjoying today's doubleheader. Long looking in the Wilson direction. Also got Klingbell there. Went through her hands. Out the back door. It's McDonald again. Every time I say her name, I'm hungry for a cheeseburger. She goes short. Managing to find Harley. Gives a quick little hands off there. Managing to find McLaren. McLaren on the right boot. Comes in the central corridor. Managing to find Pip Petschke. Lipetsky with the football on the right boot, working it to Bramage. Courtney Bramage with the football, takes the mark in front of Georgia Borg. Now comes back inboard to Olivia Barton. Barton has it between centre and centre half forward. Gets on the right, goes long inside 50 through the hands of Harley. Sean was out the back, went to ground. Edwards all over it like a cheap suit. And the umpire comes in and says, that's a free kick. And that is going the way of Millie Sean for the Borough. Let's get some thoughts from Emily Fox.
Port Melbourne have come out in this second half showing a lot more care and a lot more composure, moving this ball, getting it into the forward line. Carlton's defence was quite stalwart, so using the wings and the flanks now, trying to get around them, and it's been rewarded here with Millie Sean having a shot on goal.
Sean on a 45-degree angle. She'll be kicking from about 35 metres out. Let's rip. Might struggle with the distance, and the accuracy is away to the right-hand side. Minus score, it is 3-4-22 Port Melbourne. Carlton 1-1-7. We've gone roughly 4 minutes into this third term.
So Ali Bill will do the kick-out duties for the Blues, as she has been doing most of the game, as is Jennifer Liu. She gets it to Coletti, who's had plenty of the ball. Full Pascoe Vale defender and forward as well. She can play both key positions. So Jessie Coletti will aim to go down the line. McDonald's there for the Borough, and so is Madison Wilson. Does manage to get her hands on the ball, but it does get tapped out onto the boundary line and just outside the Blues forward 50 for a throw-in.
We're seeing a definite repeat of this second quarter now with with Carlton really struggling to get that transition back out of their 50. Port Melbourne are just playing really disciplined team football right now.
Good call there, Em, and we'll have it back thrown in now. So the umpire will toss it back in. Borg there in the ruck. McLaren in the middle now. She gets a clearance, fends off one, gets it over to Bailey. Bailey goes back inboard to Bramage, just goes over her head. It'll be contested there at the ground level. There's a couple of Borough players there to help her out. Can't quite get clear now. Bramage was hit high, so she will get the free kick against her old side. Has been a part of the VFLW squad for the Blues for about 2 years, I think it was, and now she's over at the Borough, finding her new way here. So she goes inside 50 now. There's a couple of Borough players that fly. Is it a mark? It is. That's a great grab That's a great grab there by Laura McClellan there for the Borough. The AFLW listed Richmond player goes inboard now. Short kick to Harley on the lead is a great one. So Emily Harley could go for her second mark of the day, but could go for her first goal of the day. So Emily Harley's been presenting pretty well, and she's straight out, just about 40 metres out. And Emily Fox, what did you make of that lead?
There was memories or reminders of Sarah Perkins with that lead from Harley then. It was just really, really strong. Carlton had dropped back, but she just worked hard and power into that space to now wind up and have a shot.
So Emily Harley, she's straight in front, gets a nice big distance off the boot. Can it get touched on the line? It can't. So Emily Harley gets a goal for the Port Melbourne Borough, and it takes their score to 4-4-28. The Blues are 1-1-7. It's been a great contest so far in the second quarter, and Emily Harley, with those strong hands, is proving very difficult for the Blues defence so far.
Emily Harley came out of Mount Waverley Secondary College, played girls football there alongside Gemma Lagoya and Amelia Van Oosterwyk, who are at the Western Bulldogs.
Yeah, so Emily Harley obviously comes from some great calibre there. She can play in the midfield as well, and I had a bit of read up on her before the game, and she actually has a special talent as well. She could touch her wrist with her thumb on the same hand, and I thought, how hard's that? I tried to do it, and I actually couldn't do it.
How the heck did you find this information?
I don't know. Don't ask me. I just look in random places, and that's what I find. So people feel free to try and do that trick.
Beth Wilson has been thrown in towards the middle of the ground. That's heck of research, and we'll end up getting the football back. Beth Wilson for the Borough, playing her second game of footy ever. Kicks it long in the forward line, and it is an intercept mark. Jessie Coletti gets back there and decides to go to the switch. Looking for Wilson. Oh, it's a dangerous ball. Sophie Locke has a go at one, has a go at another, wraps up the tackle. Umpire circling. Which way will he pay? He says no prior opportunity. What work there by Sophie Locke, 2 to beat, and kept it inside the Borough 50. 35 metres out from goal. Let's reset play. Ball hit the deck, and everyone's going to jump on it. Throw a handkerchief over half a dozen players. It did pop out. Guess who? Sophie Locke with the snappers away to the left-hand side. And will register as a minor score. 4-5-29 Port Melbourne. Carlton 1-1-7. 12 minutes remaining in the third term. Here is your match analyst, Williamstown forward, the one and only Emily Fox.
Sophie Locke continually looks really dangerous. So, like her name, Carlton needs to lock down on her because her risk of getting that ball as a small forward is one of the biggest things Carlton need to get on top of.
Great puns there. I'm really impressed by your pun research today. So Ali Build kicks it out of defence for the Blues. Georgia Borg's there. Madison Wilson's there, but neither of them would get it. It's in the hands of Jen Liu, who's been absolutely fantastic for the Blues and working together with her captain seamlessly. So Liu will look to go down the line. She can't find much option. Tells them to go back. Goes to Lazowski-Hay easily. It goes for a bit of a run herself. Now gets it onto the boot. It just falls out of the hands there of Stephanie Lawrence, one of the goal kickers last week. Can't quite get to it. Madison Wilson now will try and paddle the ball towards the boundary line. She's wrapped up in a tackle there by Holly Bailey for Port Melbourne, and we'll have a throw in just outside 50 for the Borough.
For those that just joined us on WARFradio.com and the VFLW live video stream, there was one change to the Carlton list today. Winnie Lang, who was named in the best last week, was feeling a bit ill under the weather. Did some laps of the oval, but that was about it. She was replaced pre-game by Marnie Jarvis. Ball was thrown back in, missed both rucks on that occasion. Zampaglione tried to clear things up. Mainly caught is Wilson in this tackle. And the umpire says, I'll ask for it back. It's Wilson tackling Wilson, in fact. Madison tackled by Elizabeth. And the umpire will ask for the footy. Personally, my favourite Wilson is the one from Home Improvement.
Home Improvement,
they used
absolutely.
To hide behind the fence. As going in there is Lazowski-Hay. Couldn't get it out. Brought to ground is Klingbeil. Hand pass out Petschke. Got it quickly to Lazowski-Hay. Lazowski-Hay tries to go inside 50. Oh, beautiful juggling mark. And taking it on that occasion, we're in the number 36. McClellan gets on the left boot, going in the Harley direction, was maybe a split second away from hitting her or Bridie Kennedy, and taking it back there, Jessica Letty, once again for the Blues, racking up plenty of marks and maybe catching the eye of a few AFLW recruiters. And a 50-metre penalty sucked in the Port player who stepped over the mark, and the umpire says, let's go for a walk, and you'll take it a half back.
So Jessie Coletti now will go down the line. She's got Madison Wilson there for company. Mel Kais comes over the top. She tries to get it towards the boundary line. Can't quite reach it yet. So Beth Wilson has to mop up and the ball would just go out of bounds. But is a lasso. It was off the boot of a Port Melbourne player. So Brie Gurr, just about to come onto the ground, will take the kick in before she heads onto the ground fully. Brie Gurr goes inboard. Jennifer Lou's there. Easy kick towards her, straight into her hands. Now tries to go inboard towards 50. Marnie Jarvis has to run over after it. Olivia Barnes there, but so is Sarah Sansonetti, playing great footy off the back line. Sansonetti looks to advance towards the centre square. It's a good passage of play there, and it falls into the hands of Nayli Borg. So Borg will look to switch to the other side of the field. Madison Wilson's chasing after there. She nearly gets the ball. It's still just close to the Blues forward 50. They can still get a run on if they can get the ball cleanly. Brie Gurr does so. There's no one at the back there for the Blues. I'll have to run onto it, but they can't. It falls into the hands instead of Kayla Stanley. So Stanley will have to kick it out for the Borough. Mel Kai's immediately wrapped up by Brie Gurr as she kicked it. There's a couple of Carlton players there. Sarah Egan was the one that picked it up. Has Lou for support. Does go back with the clean hands. Lou gets it to Madison Wilson, the goal kicker today for the Blues. Goes inboard. Just falls at the feet there of Stephanie Lawrence. And the ball will go out. It's a lasso free kick. And it goes the way of Port Melbourne. Emily Fox.
Yeah, we're 11 minutes into this third quarter now, and this has been the first play in the game where Carlton's had it in their forward half of the ground. But they might make a chance, the opportunity to make the most of it now because they got the ball back.
Yeah, Trudgeon did some great smothering work, and then she got smothered in kind. Hand pass quickly, Jen Lewis pushed up the ground towards the half-forward flank, gave it across quickly to Ware, who put it straight on the boots, only for it to be intercepted. Back there in the back pocket by the Borough, and they'll have a chance here to clear. They might be McLaren back there who gets on the right boot, going long. Jen Lou parks herself underneath it, spoiled at the last second. Will go back to have a crack at the football. Oh, that could be high, and the umpire says, yes, you can put your head back on your neck now. And that free kick's going the way of Marnie Jarvis, the late inclusion. She was inclusion for Winnie Lang. Marnie Jarvis with the football. She's currently outside 50. The player on the mark is standing at 47.5 metres. Umpire says play on. She goes for the long kick towards the top of the square. Looking for Trudgeon. Came off her hands. Waiting for it in the pocket there was Peterson. Almost shoved out of bounds. Somehow the ball is still kept alive and Peterson went back in for a second effort. Joined by Jen Lou. And the umpire says there is no prior opportunity and will call for a bounce. 22-point lead to Port Melbourne. 7.5 minutes remaining in the third quarter.
So Kayla Peterson there with that last touch. Former Cairns Saints premiership captain. And she's back in the action again on that ball up. The ball doesn't make much movement though, and it'll be again Thrown up, deep inside the Blues 50.
I'm looking at all your notes. Julia, you will have to run at some stage a women's footy trivia night.
I think that'd be a great idea. I've had fun doing that. Hit me up if you're interested at Julia Montesano on Twitter. We can organise women's trivia. Anyway, we're back at Latrobe Uni. The ball trickles towards goal for the Blues. Doesn't quite get there. Marnie Jarvis runs onto it. She's just outside the goal square. Immediately tackled as she got the ball. And she is going to stay that way as we have a ball up on the other side of the ground, deep inside the Blues forward 50. Em, can you see them breaking the contest here?
Well, positive signs that they've actually managed to keep it inside their forward 50 for an extended period of time now. It was something they couldn't really do at all in the second quarter.
Unfortunately, now it's going to be in the hands of the Borough now. McLaren dodges one, dodges the other, gets the ball outside 50. McDonald's there to chase onto it, can't quite get to it. There's a Carlton player there at the ground who tries to advance it forward. And now we'll go back inboard. Ali Bill's there for support. She tries to duck one tackle. She couldn't successfully. Zan Palioni's there for support, though. It'll go to inside 50 now. Marking targets there, but she can't quite get it in the hands. Falls on the ball. She has to pick up her own mess. And it looks like the umpire will call the ball up. Oh, no, holding the ball instead. It looks like she dove on it. So it'll be a free kick there for the Borough. They'll switch out in the hands of Olivia Barton. So Barton goes down the line. She has Peschke there for company, but just misses the target. Falls outside the hands of Ware. Peschke will have to mop up that mess. Brie Gers right there with her, immediately tackles her. There's a couple of Borough players there for support. McLaren's one of them. So is Kai's. Kai's can go for a bounce. Goes for another bounce. Doesn't quite kick it now. Now kick it into forward 50. Jessie Coletti, though, another mark for her. She's been impressive in defence for the Blues. She'll try and get it back into forward 50 for Carlton. Ali Bild, though. She goes in ball to Ali Bild, who looks like she's cramped up a bit there on that mark.
As we wait for the umpire to say when she's right to stand up, we'll resume play again. Kai's kick just not hitting the target, but I can understand why. The pass to her came on the right-hand side, and if you listen to Musical Youth, you've got a pass to Dutchie on the left-hand side.
Oh, very good. That's a very good sound effect, I think.
As Ali Bild will come from the ground. She started to kind of run it off, so let's just hope again she just momentarily twisted it and she'll be able to get a bit of physio work on it and back out there. The umpire said, wait for her to leave the ground and then I'll restart play. Player coming back on is Georgia Borg. Jess Edwards for the Blue Baggers. Coming out towards me. Oh, Bramage and Lou just went crash, bang, wallop into each other. Pip Keschke turned around the corner with the left boot. Going in there is Ingram. Fighting in hard for it. Klingbeil, who got it, who had to beat out the player in McClellan to get there. And the umpire says that play there was a bit harsh on Holly Bailey by Jen Liu. Let's go for 50. You can hear the Port Melbourne supporters screaming in the background. And I don't reckon it's much friendly advice, such as this is where you should buy real estate. And talking about real estate, she's getting a fair amount of it here, Holly Bailey. She plays on because there's no one on the mark. Dances around one player. Holly Bailey pulled the kick at the last second from 40 metres out. Went to the top of the square. Guess who? It's Sophie Locke. She plays on quickly, says, I know what I'm doing. I don't need the camera time. Bang, goal. Sophie Locke's third of the day, and Port Melbourne go out to 5-5-35. Carlton 1-1-7. 4 minutes left in the third quarter. Here's your match analyst, Emily Fox.
So we talked about Jen Liu a lot in the first half. She's been the standout player for Carlton. They've tried to move her onto ball and then into the forward line just to get something going. But right then, she's tried to assert herself on the contest to make something different for Carlton. But big hit on Bramage, which was solid, but then followed up again with that 50-metre penalty, which resulted in a goal. So, yeah, that hasn't quite worked right now. I think Jen Liu needs to make up for that mistake to try to lift Carlton back again.
So Sophie Luck, the former Murray Bushranger, a former Vic Country rep as well. And Pete's taking a photo of my notes. I don't know what's happening here. Anyway, we're back in the middle. Jen Liu's back in the middle. As M. Fox mentioned, she goes forward, tries to find a player, can't quite get there. It'll be trickling in the forward line for the Blues. There's a couple of them there. The ball spills to the ground, though. They'll be happy with the stoppage here. They'll have time to reset.
I swear I'm not taking the photo to cheat, to have your notes. But we'll show on Twitter and maybe a little bit later today at WARF Radio on Twitter. It's our Twitter account at WARF Radio. Just the prep that I've done and the prep that Julia's done. 1 page versus 4 pages. Extraordinarily good by Julia. Trying to come away with it there was Marnie Jarvis. She's immediately wrapped up. Klingbeil is watching on. We'll call for another ball up. 5-5-35. To 1-1-7. We'll get an AFLW around the ground score very shortly. Earlier today, Carlton beat Geelong in the AFLW, and in the VFLW, Hawthorn beat Darebin, and North Melbourne beat the Bulldogs. Hurried hack kick out of the pack by the Borough. heading in the direction of Ali McDonald. Courtney Bramage is lurking nearby as well. Picking it up and having to shrug a tackle there, Lisa Davey, who had Linson on her hammer. Had to go towards the half-back flank, pushing up the ground. Jessica Letty got the hand pass away before being completely nailed in the back. Umpire said play on. Jen Liu picked up the football. Hurry kick inside 50. A little bit too much hot potato for a forward who managed to pick it up and turn around. Is this Brett? Tegan Brett, who goes for goal. It goes across the face and bounces through for a minor score. Carlton's first score since the first term. 1-2-8, the Blue Baggers. Port Melbourne, 5-5-35.
So Tegan Brett, she also plays for Coburg Football Club. It's her local club this year, and she's from out the country way as well. She drives a long way to play her local footy, but she's playing today and making an impact. Carlton's first score since the first quarter. So the Borough kicked it out now. They'll have a chance to go back inside 50 and get a scoring opportunity there. Peterson's there with two Borough players. They can't quite get to the hands of Peschke. The ball goes to ground. We'll have a couple of walking players in the tackle, and the umpire will eventually ball it up.
Nearing three-quarter time in the AFLW, Collingwood 4-8-32, Western Bulldogs 1-3-9.
There you go. Collingwood have fixed up their early behind woes. They've gone from seven straight behinds to 4-8-32. So a good comeback from them. But back into the VFLW now. Carlton go inside 50 now. Bree Gers there tries to kick it forward. Sorry, it was Tegan Brett tried to kick it forward. Now Port Melbourne will have a chance to run out of defence. There's some good running there by the defenders. Ali McDonald takes a bounce. Now kicks it off the foot. Tries to go towards the centre of the ground. Jessie Coletti getting another kick away. Ooh, and it was a big hit there. So the umpire will pay a free kick to the Blues for that big hit.
Yeah, we just saw Jen Liu having a bit of a push and a shove with one of the Port Melbourne players down the front here as well. So there's starting to be a little bit more spice in this game. There's a little bit of aggression.
And just as you were speaking about the spice in the game, the ball's gone straight inside 50 for the Blues. It's in the hands of Stephanie Lawrence, who kicked a goal last week on her VFLW debut for the Blues. She's just out in front, or straight out in front, I should say, about 30 metres out. And she'll go for the Blues second of the day and her first. So Stephanie Lawrence, like I mentioned, the goal kicker last week, former St Mary's Salesians player, goes running up for the approach. Right on the three-quarter time siren, just goes for a behind to the right side of the goal. So Carlton can't get another goal on the board. Instead, it's a behind, so they're 1-3-9. The Borough, though, steaming away with this one. It's 5-5-35 at three-quarter time. The goal kickers for the Borough in that quarter, Emily Harley with a great marking kick, and Sophie Locke with her third of the day.
Let's get some thoughts on that third quarter there from Emily Fox. Frustrating, I guess, for Carlton, and maybe if that goal goes through, it would have given them a little bit of hope. A heck of a lot of work to do now to pull back in that 26-point lead.
A goal there would only put them 3 goals behind, which isn't beyond the realms of possibility, especially considering that once again that ball was in the Port Melbourne forward line for the first 10 minutes. Carlton weren't able to transition at least into their half of the ground after more than 10 minutes had elapsed. But having said that, Port Melbourne didn't put much on the board during that time, so there are positive signs for Carlton. They've just got to keep working, try to get some reward for effort. But if Port Melbourne don't take their chances, they could see Carlton really getting back in this game.
Well, if you look again for the Blues, you look at the work being done by, and we saw Zampaglier probably a little bit quiet in the second half of that quarter, but we've seen Coletti is taking a heck of a lot of marks and reading the ball well across the back line. Lou, yes, some hits and misses, but is at least making some contests, making it go. Sarah Ingham is jumping in there as well. You've got players that are having a crack, and I guess that's the pleasing thing for Blues fans. As much as I think we saw the Southern Saints fall yesterday and some Saints supporters going, geez, they really didn't have a crack, did they? The Blues today, it's a bit head-scratching. They're having a crack, but it's just maybe experience, maybe a couple of experienced players. It's just not connecting.
Yeah, they would have loved to have someone like a Daisy Walker, who was rested for the AFLW side, come into the VFLW side today, but it wasn't to be. Winnie Lang's obviously the one out too.
Of that, yeah.
Yeah, so a couple of AFLW bodies missing from their lineup, but you're right, Pete. They are having a crack. There are a couple of players showing up as well. Ali Bild limped off with a little cramp in that quarter. We hope she's okay. She's been fantastic this game, standing up in the back line, as with Jennifer Liu as well. So a couple of good sides there for the Blues. They have got a few standout players, but yeah, I think you're right. That experience is really hurting them because the Borough do have plenty of that.
Goal kickers at three-quarter time for Port Melbourne. 3 to Sophie Locke. Singles to Claire Diet and Emily Harley. For Carlton, only just the one goal kicker. That is Madison Wilson. We'll take this opportunity to take a break at three-quarter time. Port Melbourne 5-5-35. Carlton 1-3-9. We're back on the other side of this.
Draft Central is entering a new era, covering all the state leagues from the VFLW, SANFL-W, WAFL-W and QAFL-W, as well as their primary focus, the NAB League Girls. Draft Central has you covered when it comes to all you need to know about the future stars of the AFL Women's. Draft Central, brought to you by Rookie Me, is now on YouTube, so be sure to subscribe at Draft Central, as well as on our Facebook, Twitter and Instagram pages at Draft Central Oz.
Did you know you have superpowers? This March, World's Greatest Shave is back. Will you be a superhero and step up to shave the world from blood cancer? Every day, another 41 Australians are diagnosed with blood cancer. These families need your help. Lose your locks or colour your hair to raise funds for urgently needed support and to accelerate blood cancer research. Your superhero moment awaits. Sign up now at worldsgreatestshave.com or call 1-800-500-088 to find out more.
A tough time doesn't excuse abusive behaviour at home. Even in crisis, there's no place for domestic or family violence. If you, your family or community is affected, help is available online and by phone 24/7. For free, confidential advice, support and counselling for everyone, contact 1-800-RESPECT. There's no place for domestic or family violence. Help is here. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Australia is working hard to ensure we all have access to safe, effective and free COVID-19 vaccines, which will give us the protection to go about our everyday lives. The COVID-19 vaccines are being assessed carefully by independent clinical experts to ensure all potential vaccines meet Australia's high safety and quality standards. After vaccines are approved, they'll be rolled out, going to those most in need of protection first. To keep up to date, visit health.gov.au. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
On WARFradio.com. That's WARFradio.com and at the ground on 89.1 FM. And you're watching the VFLW YouTube stream at youtube.com/AFL Victoria. It's our VFLW match of the day. In fact, it's a double header earlier today. The call of Hawthorn and Darebin, the Hawks winners there. And here at the moment, it looks like Port Melbourne could be heading towards 2 from 2 for the season. They are 5-5-35. Carlton 1-3-9. Obviously, Emily Fox, the Blues are still trying to go for the win. But if we do get to a stage where, let's say, 5 minutes in, no score, that possible win is going to be out of reach, what else do the Blues want to take away from this match?
I think what we want to see is just a little bit more composure with their ball movement. I think they're starting to blaze away. They're not really trying to hit up targets. When they are trying to play that see it, hit it football, try to use those 45s, they're looping the balls a little bit, allowing the Port Melbourne players who are zoning off to get to these contests. So for me, it's just about process for Carlton now. Just use that ball better, control the game a bit better, and try to set themselves up for next week.
As the Port Melbourne side break from their main huddle for the last time. The midfielders just being held back a little bit longer there by Coach Lockie Harris. Luke O'Shaughnessy has now just walked away from the Carlton huddle, and they're just being addressed by their captain, Ali Bild, in the middle of their huddle to try and finish strong against Port Melbourne. It's a bit strange, isn't it? Because if you look at the ground and the ground conditions, as much as there's a slight breeze about, it's a fast track. So you look at the scoreboard and you go, if 4 or 5 goals could be put on a fast track, just the game just hasn't naturally evolved into that way today.
Yeah, and I guess that's probably something that's a result of playing early on in the season. It is only round 2 of the VFLW, so it could just be the players trying to gel together and get to know each other. Obviously, these players haven't played footy in 2020 as well, so it's probably their first time on the track for a long time for a lot of them, and they seem to be gelling pretty well so far. But you're right, a flat deck usually produces some high-scoring footy, but there is still 1 quarter to go. Anything could happen, and I just want to mention as well, it's good to see Ali Bild back on the ground. She did have that cramp in the 3rd quarter and couldn't take her free kick, but she is back on the ground, ready to go for the Blues. So the umpire's just waiting for everyone to get back into their positions. Charlotte Hammers is starting on the wing for the Blues. I'll be interested to see how she goes in that position. So the umpire holds the ball aloft, and we're ready to go for the 4th quarter. Taylor Kalevsky is taking the ruck now for the Blues. Traditionally has been Georgia Borg in the centre square. Kalevsky does get the tap out to Jennifer Liu, who's playing some midfield time. Jennifer Liu, she spun around in the tackle by Pip Peschke, manages to get the ball away. The umpire didn't pay a free kick. Thought she had some time to get rid of it, but she didn't. So He will do a ball up once again, and it's just inside the centre square now. Similar start to the third quarter, a couple of ball ups to start the game. So Koleski again for the Blues, gets the tap out towards Linson. Linson goes forward now, doesn't find a player that she wanted. So the Borough will have a chance to open up now through Stanley. Sanson Netty now goes outwards, and it's Hannah McLaren there with a free space. Doesn't quite get the bounce to her, so Holly Bailey will take it. Dodge one player, kicks towards inside 50. There's a leading player there, McClellan, who's been improving as the game's gone on. So McClellan right outside 50. Emily Harley, who's taken a great grab or two. Jess Edwards is right there with company for her. Jess Edwards will get the ball, pick it up, spin around, and we'll kick it out of the full. So I mentioned Jennifer Liu played at Emily Harley earlier on in the game. Now Jess Edwards has got the matchup. So we'll see how that one goes. And the ball was out at the full. Emily Harley will take that free kick, and she may as well have a set shot for goal here. It's not beyond her. She is tight on the boundary line. She does go to the top of the square instead. There's a Borough player there, but instead it hits the behind post on the full. So we will have a bit of back and forth here to start the fourth quarter, and it's Carlton taking the free kick out of there through Ingram.
So Sarah Ingram with the footy. Looks for options, looking up the line, looking towards the grandstand side. Elects to go up the line. Dangerous looking kick as McDonald tried to put the hands in there to bring it to ground. Bridie McDonald is lurking about there as well. So is Sophie Locke. Edwards over around the football. Jessica Letty in there trying to get a hurried little hand pass out. In goes Courtney Bromage. Oh, just threw the player down like a suplex.
WWE SmackDown style.
Indeed. Don't you know what the Bromage is cooking? And the umpire says, I will take the ball back, please, as Linson goes, yep, I smell what she was cooking. And she gets up with a sore back after that one. We reset play. One out by the bar, straight down the throat there, Jen Liu, and two players immediately grab her. Pip Peshke is one of them, and the umpire says, you're going nowhere, let's restart the play. 35 plays 9, Port Melbourne's way over Carlton here. Final quarter action on WAFradio.com. Trying to come away with it and just kicking along the ground is Linson. Now the Borough centre back from whence it came. Just got away from Harley. Edwards is now going for a run with Harley on her hammer, and it affects the kick. It was an absolute worm burner that just went outside 50. But the Blues somehow managed to work it out and moved it. So I was going to go to Hammonds, but just went through her hands. Bit of a dodgy hand pass there from Tegan Brett, didn't go anywhere. Allowed a Burrow to pump it back inside 50 through Olivia Barton. And Barton's ball will bounce. Ocker's going after it, close towards the boundary line. It will be escorted over and out by McAuliffe. And we'll have a throw-in right next to the right-hand point post. Let's get some thoughts from our match analyst, M. Fox.
I'm really interested to watch this matchup with Jess Edwards on Harley in this last quarter. Jess Edwards obviously trying to get back into that AFLW Carlton team, and she has got a lot more mobility and speed versus Harley, so she needs to show a lot with her rebound play and accurate kicking to prove that she belongs at the next level up.
So the ball's back in play now, and it's met immediately by a bunch of Port Melbourne and Carlton players. The umpire will pick out a free kick, it looks like.
Yeah, it was umpire off the play.
We love that. Umpires working together, and it looks like it will fall in the hands of Pip Peshke, the former Hawk. One of 5 former Hawks I just counted in the Port Melbourne side. She joins Claire Dyer, Abby Tanner, Ellie McDonald, and Melissa Kyes obviously as well. So a couple of former Hawks there, not only Richmond AFLW listed players. So a variety of experience there for Port Melbourne. So Pip Peshke will have a chance to kick her first goal for the Port Melbourne Borough. Straight through the middle. She celebrates before she even gets through the kick. And it's Port Melbourne's 6th goal of the day. Pip Peshke's first for the club in her debut. And the Borough keep trotting along. They're 6-5-41. The Blues are 1-3-9. We're just started the fourth quarter, but we've already had a great play from Pip Peshke.
And Peshke actually has been really impressive today. There's not much to her. She's giving away 20 kilos to the player she's running with in the midfield in Jen Liu. But her work rate has been great. Her physicality has been even better. So to get that goal then from that reward, getting that free kick, is just really good to see.
Umpire with the football back in the middle of the ground. 6-5-41 Port Melbourne. Carlton 1-3-9. To find out what games we're doing next weekend, just on Monday night, follow at WARF Radio, and we'll let you know once we have the release of the next batch of games from the VFLW fixture by AFL headquarters. Umpire blows the whistle and says, holding the football against Jen Liu, going to the person who just kicked the goal earlier, and Pip Peshke. Peshke now goes behind by Hammonds. Drew the player, then got tackled. Get the hand pass to Jarvis, who overran it. Petchke tries to keep her off the football. Coming in to try and lay a tackle there as Brett does well. Working off the side of the pack as Gurr can't find her way in. And umpire says there is no prior opportunity, and we will call for a ball up with 13 and a half minutes remaining in this final quarter. This is a dream start to the season so far for the Barrow. Looks like they're going to be 2-0 from 2 games. Putting it on the boot is Barton on the left, went towards the half-forward flank. Sean knocked over behind play. Umpire off the ball has spotted a free kick, and going the way of the Blues. And picking up the football is Ali Bild, the captain. She'll cross to Jen Liu, and Liu is away.
She is away. She's in the centre square now. She goes in board to Madison Wilson. Just goes out of her hands. She has to pick up that ball now. She goes in board to Brie Gurr. Brie Gurr, safe hands, takes the mark. Brie Gurr, the former soccer player, goes for a run now through the centre square. Takes a bounce. Will Brie Gurr take another? No, she kicks inside 50. Georgia Borg's there with the tall hands. Stephanie Lawrence is at the back, but no player can get to it. Instead, the Borough are able to mop up and kick it outside 50 now. If the ball bounces outside 50, it will be a lasso free kick, so the Blues will have a chance to propel the ball back inside 50, and it's in the hands of Charlotte Hammonds with the pink boots on today. So she'll have to readjust her positioning. So Hammonds will go inside 50 now. Borg's playing up forward this quarter, it looks like, but instead it's marked back there by Sarah Sansonetti for the Borough, who will go directly towards the middle of the ground, straight down the throat of Millie Sean. Sean looks for an option inboard. The kick doesn't quite go in the air, so we'll have to go on the ground instead. The umpire does pay a free kick, though, and it will be a high free kick. Go the way of Sarah Ingram for the Blues. She's right in the centre of the ground.
Sarah Ingram with the footy, gets the hurry up from the umpire, and gets on the right boot, goes long inside 50, trying to work her way from behind was Lawrence. Went with more a spoil than attempted mark. Hurried hand pass out of the pack. Coming in there to wrap it up, though, Georgia Borg, and the umpire says, I'll ask for the ball back, please, and we'll call for another ball up. We're 48 metres out from the Carlton goal. They trail at the moment with Port Melbourne 41, Carlton 9. Coming in to lay a tackle immediately is Lawrence. Ball gets squeezed out of the pack. Millie Sean was waiting for it. Wilson on her hammer. Umpire says collected a too high free kick. Let's get some quick thoughts from Emily Fox.
Yeah, I'm liking the idea of Borg going forward. I think that she's done quite well in the ruck today for her first game, but let's try to see some flexibility using that height and try to get some snags and some marks down forward.
So it's Sean to Borg. Borg gets it forward once again, and the Borough have a little bit of running carry now towards 50. Hannah McLaren's right at the top of the 50. She takes a good mark and now goes back to assess her options. Bramage is there. The kick goes past her. She'll have to run onto it. Can't quite get there. Coletti's there for the Blues, as she has been for the whole game. Has to mop it up on ground level. What's the umpire going to do here? He's circling, but he does just call a ball up. So we're deep inside 50 for the Borough, just outside the goal square. And they'll have a chance to kick their 7th goal of the day if they're successful in this ball up here. So the umpire will go again, and so will the Borough. Locks there for the Borough, who's been hot today. She can kick her 4th of the day, but no, she can't. Lazowski-Hay can have a go at the goals instead. Bounces once, bounces twice, through the middle, and Luca Lazowski-Hay kicks her 1st of the day, kicks Port Melbourne's 7th of the day. They're steaming away with this one at 7-5-47. The Blues are 1-3-9. A great passage of play there by Luca Lazowski-Hay and Emily Fox.
Yeah, not many of the Port Melbourne goals have come from marks inside 50 today. Their small forwards have done the work, and that just goes to show that they're backing their system in about getting the ball to ground and letting their little players do their best job. It's also noticed a couple of Carlton players have started to deal with cramp now, so it might be warmer on the ground than what it feels like up here in the box. It definitely might affect the way this game runs out in the end.
What should be worrying the competition is from Port Melbourne's 2 wins, which look like pretty handy wins, is last week they won it almost working a tall forward play when they're working Elizabeth Wilson and Christina Bernardi, and now they're winning with a small forward, showing versatility in the forward line. That's got to be frightening and hard for teams to defend against. Courtney Brenage tried to get a hand pass out. Instead, it was taken away by Klingbeil. Klingbeil goes long. Is there a little nudge under the ball? The umpire says that is in the back. And that'll be a free kick going the way of the Blues to Paige Trudgeon at centre-half forward. Trudgeon from inside the centre square. Pumps it long. Juggling hands. And a mark taken for the Blues. 35 metres out, directly in front.
Taylor Peterson.
Peterson will be looking for her first and Carlton's 2nd of the day to try and reduce the margin, which at this moment is sitting out at 38 points the difference. 9 minutes remaining in this final term. Peterson Puts boot to ball at 37.5 metres. And gets it, no problems. And the Blues go to 2-3-15. Port Melbourne 7-5-47 here on WARFradio.com and the VFLW live stream on YouTube. Here's your thoughts from your match analyst from the Williamstown Football Club. It's Emily Fox.
Really impressed with Peterson's play there. She was able to take a contested mark amongst 3 Port Melbourne defenders. We haven't really seen much of that aerial play by any of our key forwards today, so that might hold her in good stead for following weeks. If she can kind of keep that play and bring it more into the game, it will help Carlton get more direction moving into their forward line.
And you can see Carlton just trying a couple of different players on the wing. We've seen Brie Gurr on the wing. We've seen Charlotte Hammonds on the wing. Now we're seeing Jasmine Ware on the wing. I'm just noticing that in the centre square setup. So as the umpire gets ready to recommence play, he'll throw the ball up now. Kolevski's in the ruck for the Blues. Like we mentioned, Georgia Borg's up forward this quarter. The Borough will try to advance it forward to get an immediate response. Can't quite do so. Klingbeil's immediately wrapped up in a tackle and she's slammed to the ground. The umpire says, all good, I'll ball it up.
Around the grounds from the AFLW, 10.5 minutes gone, final quarter. Collingwood 6-8-44, the Bulldogs 2-3-15.
Collingwood marching along, and so is Port Melbourne here. This time it's Carlton out of the clearance. Can't quite get the ball to a designated player, so Lazowski-Hay will go back inboard for the Borough. A great mark taken there by Charlotte Hammonds. A one-on-one contested grab by the AFLW listed player. Hammonds goes wide now to Edwards, another fellow AFLW listed player. He's got the match on Emily Harley for this quarter. Jess Edwards now looking for an option. The umpire tells her to hurry up. She'll go back inboard now. Klingbeil's there, can't quite get the sit. Now she gets to pick up the ground ball, tries to advance it forward. Sansonetti's there, Tegan Brett's there. There's 2 Port Melbourne Borough players that she has to contend with and she can't quite do it. Gets a tackle and tries to affect the kick, it doesn't quite work out. Georgia Borg's there to mop it up for the Blues. Goes inboard towards the way of Zed Paliotti, can't quite get there. Georgia Borg gets it back now, but can't quite get hands on the ball. So Brie Gurr now has it at ground level. Tries to get a hairball out. The Port Melbourne Borough supporters are screaming ball, wanting to tackle free kick, but can't quite get there. So it will be a ball up instead.
So right in front of our broadcast position between centre wing and the half-forward flank, Wilson, that is Elizabeth Wilson, did the ruck work for Port Melbourne. Squeezed hand pass out from the Borough, will be intercepted and taken away by Lou. Was juggling it and lost it. Then shoved her opponent over for good measure. The umpire says, you cannot do that. And that will be a free kick going the way. Looks like of Kate Adams, naturally from the Adams family.
Where's your sound effects, Pete?
Thank you very much. Finding Naily Borg. Borg goes short on the right boot. Works out okay. Managed to find Sarah Sansonetti coming in board. Oh, pulled away at the last second, Claire Dykes. I think she heard the footsteps coming of a Georgia Borg. Georgia Borg went after Millie Shon, wrapped her up, put her into the ground, snug as a bug on a rug. And the umpire says there is no opportunity there. And we will call for a ball up. 47 plays 15, Port Melbourne leading Carlton. Here is your match analyst in Emily Fox.
Yeah, back at that previous stoppage, Carlton were outnumbered 4-6 in that play. So I think the processes are starting to fall down a little bit as they get tired and the game wears on.
It's inside the Borough's forward line now. They'll have a chance to get an immediate response from Carlton. Pip Peschke get her second of the day. She kicks the ball towards the goal. It trickles into space. There's a couple of Carlton players there. Sarah Egan runs onto it in space. She gets a quick hairball off the Jen Liu, who can now go for a run. Takes a bounce. Goes out wide now. There's a player running onto the ball in Klingbeil. It can't quite get to her. So it will be the Lasso free kick rule. And Port Melbourne will have a chance to go back inside 50 through Kate Adams, from the Adams family, but also from the Murray Bushrangers. So Adams goes inboard now to her captain in Mel Kais. Kais goes in for a nice kick inside 50, just threads the needle to Sansonetti, it looks like. Goes on the boot to try and go towards goal, and it just gets in there. That was a brilliant move, passage of play there by the Borough, and it ends up in another goal. They're on fire today. So the Port Melbourne Borough get their 8th goal of the day. It's 8-5-53. The Blues are 2-3-15, and the Borough, wow, they're really putting on a clinic today, Emily Fox.
Yeah, Port Melbourne just used the space in their side, their forward 50, really well then. Didn't try to hit up any particular player, just moved into that space where the players could actually attack the ball. And Sansonetti was just really calm then. 2 steps around the corner, kick the goal. You got to back your forwards in to take those chances. If you think you're going to kick it, just kick it, and she did it right then.
4.5 minutes remaining in the final quarter. Don't forget you can also hear Julia Montesano on Play On Radio.
Yes.
With Gemma Bastiani. Thursdays, am I correct? Or Fridays?
Yeah, we put the podcast up on Thursdays. We just preview the upcoming AFLW round. So if you want to hear me ramble on about footy, feel free.
You can find it where you get all good podcasts and some dodgy ones too. As going in there to try and lay a tackle is McLaren. Umpire says that's holding, and that will be a free kick going the way of the Blues. Gives it to a teammate in Millie Klingbeil. She looks around for some options. Had one on the half-back flank if she wanted to go backwards. Elected to go, nope, I'm going to go straight down the line. In fact, drew the player towards her and went with a kick through Marnie Jarvis. Gillespie with the football between centre and centre half forward. Pulls the kick, just waits it on the breeze. Came off hands, was trying to find Georgia Borg. Ball hit the deck. Maddie Wilson had it, maybe held without it. Umpire disagreed. Zampaglione is lurking nearby. She comes in to lay the tackle. Adams immediately gets caught. Jarvis tried to get in there for support. Pesky for the Borough, though. Put on the boot, went towards the half-back flank. 1 on 3, 2 on 3. Numbers favouring Carlton over the Borough. And that's going to be maybe shepherding against Mel Kais. And the umpire says, yep, shepherding off the football. Free kick. And it's going the way of the Blues. Port are saying you can get your own football. And taking it here is going to be the number 37, and Charlotte Hammonds.
Not a bad tactic there by Port Melbourne, just to get a few extra bit of oxygen in their lungs, to leave the ball for Charlotte Hammonds to get. So Hammonds now goes inboard for Carlton. They'll try and get their third goal of the day. But right now, it's just inside the centre square, and the umpire will ball it up.
Quick little point that I mentioned last week that I forgot to bring up about an exploit in the rules with the 5-6-5. As you get, the 5-6-5. As you get a warning before you get penalised, you take the play. I'll pick up in a moment.
No worries. So Pip Pesky tries to go inboard for Port Melbourne. Doesn't quite find her intended target. So Micallef will try to go back inboard for the Blues. Madison Wilson's there, tries to take the mark, just gets pushed off last minute. Pip Pesky now will get another touch. He's been improving as the game's gone on. Now gets a bit of a run on with Bridie Kennedy. She's got Sarah Ingram to contend with, goes around her. Ingram gets a tackle and affects the kick. Sarah Sedsinetti, the goal kicker, now takes a mark and just tells her players just to calm down a bit. We've got some time, we've got the lead, we've got some space. Kicks it to Lazowski Hay, the other Richmond AFLW listed player. Marnie Jarvis attacks the ball, is immediately wrapped up, and the umpire will ball it up. Pete.
With the 5-6-5 rule, when the umpire does the count and the warning, the clock still ticks. So, in a way, if you're, say, leading by less than a goal and the opposition's just kicked a goal and all of a sudden you're only up by 2 or 3 points and the clock is ticking, break the 5-6-5 rule, and a player has to run from one end of the ground to the other to get in position. That kills 30 seconds on the clock.
So it was clever play by the Borough Adina. It's clever play now. McClellan gets some quick hands there to McDonald. McDonald's chasing the ball. She gets past one, gets past the other, gets past another player. Handballs it off to Harley, who can kick a goal. Her second for the day. Port Melbourne's 9th. And wow, the Port Melbourne Borough keep on keeping on. It's 9-5-59 to 2-3-15. Port Melbourne absolutely killing it. And great play from McDonald there, but don't you think, Emily Fox?
Yeah, she kind of just danced around 2 or 3 different Carlton players, drew them in, and then instead of having the shot of goal, fed it out to Harley, who was able to just pop it over the top nice and easy. It just goes to show that this Carlton defence has been under a lot of pressure all day, and they're just fatigued now. They're just tired, and Port Melbourne are just making the most of it. With 45 seconds left on the clock, they might even be able to snag one more and boost that percentage.
Yeah, let's say, for example, Carlton were ahead by 2 or 3 points. You just saw the ball took maybe almost 30 seconds to come back towards the middle of the ground. If you're exploiting the 5-6-5 rule, you can have one player at the wrong end of the ground. You give him the warning. By the time they run from one end to the other, there goes the final siren, game over, you win. So as Zampaglione has the football, takes a bounce, goes for a run, hand pass almost to herself, cutting it off there was Pip Pesky, and she went to the Millie Shon direction. Shon, the ball was just awkward for her, almost throwing it away there. McAuliffe with an awkward-looking hand pass, trying to go over the top of Kleveski. They missed out on her. Turnover, Borough football, coming back to Courtney Bramage. Bramage takes the mark between centre and centre half forward, more towards the outer side wing though. Kicks it long, looking for Harley. Spoiled it behind by Edwards as the siren sounds at La Trobe University, and the Borough keep getting stronger and the wins kept getting bigger. They're 2-0 to start the season, the new club in the VFLW competition. Port Melbourne, 9-5-59, defeating Carlton today, 2-3-15. For the Blues, there's a bit of work to do. For Port Melbourne, maybe, just maybe, they're sending a warning to the rest of the competition.
Yeah, certainly they've had a good mix of goal kickers today as well. I will quickly reel those off the top as well. Sophie Locke kicked 3 goals. Emily Harley kicked 2. Claire Dyer, Pip Peschke and Luca Lazowski-Hay got on the board for them. So a great mix of forward line pressure, but also a great mix of players around the ground. We saw Hannah McLaren step up. We saw Ellie McDonald do that little dance to the forward line to get the goal towards Emily Harley there at the end. So a good mix of players for Port Melbourne. And you're right, for Carlton there is a lot of work to do. What did you think, Emily Fox?
Yeah, I just thought Port Melbourne had really solid contributors right across the whole ground today. There was a handful of standouts. We kept saying Pip Peschke's name an awful lot today, and her smaller midfielder in Ramage was also really, really busy, and the captain led well all day, and Sophia Locke obviously getting a lot on the board. But you couldn't really fault any of the Port Melbourne players today. It was a really solid team effort for 4 quarters. And they're kind of starting to build. You can see that culture that Lockie Harris was talking about before the game was in full effect today.
Final score from the AFLW, Collingwood 7-9-51 defeated the Western Bulldogs 2-3-15 there at Victoria Park. Coming up next, about 4:40 Eastern Time, is the Freo versus West Coast game. You can watch that for free on women's.afl and the AFLW app, and check out Kate McCarthy on special comments for that one. The Blues in the middle of the ground, no doubt having a bit of a heart-to-heart talk before they come off the ground. That, as I said earlier, that they know they've got work to do. But for the Borough, the pleasing thing is, and I had the privilege of seeing last week's performance, and I know you listened in last week, Julia, was that different contributors stepped up this week. It wasn't a case of Kai's did a bit today, but it wasn't Kai's dominating from last week. It wasn't Wilson. Of course, Bernardi wasn't in the side because she's gone up to the AFLW. Bramash is probably the only one that was consistent from last week. Maybe Sarah Sansonetti as well. But Sophie Locke is now stepping up. Bridie Kennedy did a little bit today. Going across the back line, Hannah McLaren got involved in the contest. Pip Peschke, who we talked about. Millie Shawn today in her debut game wearing the Borough jumper. It's a case of different players are stepping up at different times, and if a side is going to not only make a run for the finals, but actually be a side to be dealt with in the finals, you can't rely upon just your top 6 talent, because if injuries happened or they have a bad game, it won't get you over the line. The Borough are showing they have got, I'm not going to say ball winners all over the park, but they've got a lot of options.
Yeah, certainly. That's just like I was chatting about before. It's not just one player. It is contributors around the ground, and they did a great job today. They really spread the field wide. They spread Carlton's whole squad out. I mean, a lot of players had a different number of players, and then we saw Harley get 2 different opponents during the game. We saw them have to throw Georgia Borg forward. They could not find an answer to Port Melbourne's consistency and Port Melbourne's contributors and Port Melbourne's running carry. There's just so many aspects of the game that I really like, and I think it's credit to their coach Lockie Harris as well. He's done a great job with a new squad in a new league, and complemented by Richmond's AFLW players. Why wouldn't you be excited about the Borough? I know VFLW stream viewers will be leaving us very shortly. Thank you very much for your company. We look forward to your company in the future. Keep an eye on @VFL for video stream details. WAFradio.com listeners are staying with us for another 5 more minutes. As we go